Chapter 4338. Damn it, at this moment, Ao Zhantian's Naiwan palace was shaking violently. Not only could he see it with his naked eyes, but he could also feel the world spinning around him. Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body trembled slightly, as if it couldn't maintain its balance. Ao Zhantian cursed angrily as his dragon blood Dharma body roared toward the sky. He wanted to borrow the power of the dragon blood Dharma body to break through the encirclement of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord and his subordinates. Roar! A dragon's roar soared into the sky. Unfortunately, it only traveled 1,000 feet before it was shattered by countless coughs. Even Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body showed signs of collapsing. Not good. Ao Zhantian's heart jolted upon hearing this, and he seemed to have come to a sudden realization. The eagle bat is the nemesis of the gathering moth beasts, and the gathering moth beasts possess the power of bloodlines. Isn't my dragon blood Dharma body also manifested from my bloodline? How was it possible for me to destroy the energy waves of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord? Could it be that the demon race also knows how to plan? When just as Ao Zhantian was puzzled, the entire night sky trembled again. Countless pillars of starlight descended and grabbed onto Ao Zhantian's dragon blood Dharma body, like a giant palm. Ao Zhantian's expression froze, and he hurriedly tried to withdraw his dragon blood Dharma body back into his body. Unfortunately, how could he still control the situation at this point? A huge force pressed down on his head like a boulder, and he couldn't activate his dragon blood Dharma body, no matter what. Fuck! Ao Zhantian didn't dare to be careless. He rubbed his hands together, and streaks of light as thin as hair fell into the sky. The space in front of him trembled as countless origin chi of heaven and earth broke through the pillars of starlight. Whoosh! As Ao Zhantian made a few hand seals, the scythe rushed into the sky and sliced through most of the pillars of starlight. The dragon blood Dharma body finally moved again, and it fell toward Ao Zhantian's body. Fellow Taoist Ao, let me help you. Seeing that Ao Zhantian was in trouble again, Shui Mingzi's body swayed, and he waved the horsetail whisk in his hand again. At this moment, Xian Ping's cry for help sounded strangely. Shui Mingzi, come save me. Ah! Shui Mingzi was shocked. He didn't care about Xian Ping's disrespect and naturally released his divine sense. Buzz buzz! When his divine sense landed in the night sky, a feeling of dizziness immediately entered Shui Mingzi's mind. Shui Mingzi was shocked. He quickly withdrew his divine sense and looked up. Seeing that Xian Ping was in danger, Shui Mingzi was extremely shocked. He glanced at Ao Zhantian and the Eagle Bat Mountain chieftain in disbelief, seemingly hesitating. Fellow Taoist water, hurry and save Xian Ping! Ao Zhantian naturally heard Xian Ping's cry for help. He hurriedly shouted. This old man still has some strength left, but Shui Mingzi seemed to have misgivings about something. However, it only lasted for a moment before his body flickered. A two-colored light flashed around him, and a faint demonic cloud appeared beneath his feet. Shui Mingzi teleported away, and in the space of a few breaths of time, he appeared 3,000 meters away from Xian Ping. Unfortunately, Shui Mingzi's figure had only just appeared. Before he could wave the horsetail whisk in his hand, the blood vessels on Xian Ping's body had already appeared like thick earthworms. With a loud bang, Xian Ping's body exploded. Damn it! Shui Mingzi was furious. He waved his horsetail whisk, and hundreds of strands of light shot towards the huge moth-gathering beasts. He shouted again, fellow Taoist Xian, don't panic. Hurry and come to this old man, who knew that it would have been better if Shui Mingzi hadn't said anything. As soon as Shui Mingzi spoke, a trace of resentment flashed across Xian Ping's nascent soul's eyes. The magic power around his body surged, and with a whoosh, he actually teleported into the distance. Fellow Taoist Xian Shui Mingzi was shocked. He hurriedly said, this is the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. How can a nascent soul like you escape from being devoured by the demons? As he spoke, Shui Mingzi was about to chase after Xian Ping. However, just as Shui Mingzi's figure moved, a wave of blood energy surged through his body. Not to mention teleporting, even flying was a bit troublesome. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Shui Mingzi was truly enraged. He opened his mouth, and a silvery white pillar of light fell into the strands of light he had shot out. With a boom, the strands of light flew up and instantly killed a huge moth-gathering beast. Shui Mingzi's magic treasure did indeed kill a moth-gathering beast. However, the crimson tentacle wasn't something that Shui Mingzi's magic treasure could defend against. The crimson tentacle changed direction and came crashing down on Shui Mingzi. At this moment, due to Shui Mingzi's departure, Ao Zhantian was facing off against the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord alone. He had just retracted most of his dragon blood avatar into his body when the light around him began to distort and ripple. The remaining avatar was already beginning to crumble roar at this critical moment. A loud dragon's roar soared into the sky from afar, following which, a powerful vital intent appeared out of thin air. This vital intent was very strange. It was like a river, but also like a boulder. As it descended, it caused the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord to tremble violently. Even though it didn't break through, it still caused the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord to hurriedly turn around. Which damned bastard dares to bully a descendant of the dragon tribe? A loud voice sounded from behind the vital intent. It was the language of the thousand-beast holy realm. Good Ao Zhantian was truly overjoyed. Even though he hadn't seen the newcomer yet, just from the power of the vital intent and the dragon's roar alone, he already knew that the newcomer was definitely a powerful ally. Sure enough, just as the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord spread its wings and soared into the sky, a demonic body that resembled a dragon and a snake descended from the night sky. The snake's tail, which was several dozen feet thick, whistled through the air as it came crashing down like a small mountain. Where the serpent tail landed, the Eagle Bat Mountain Master similarly flapped his wings to receive the attack. Boom! With a loud explosion, the serpent tail was flipped over, and an ugly serpent dragon tumbled in midair, revealing its demonic body. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord also tumbled through the night sky. Even though it spread its wings, it was still unable to maintain its balance. So, it's a python dragon. Ao Zhantian was filled with anticipation for the appearance of a member of the dragon tribe. When he saw that it was a python dragon, he couldn't help but feel disappointed. However, when he saw that the python dragon's demonic body was so sturdy, there was hope amidst his disappointment. He didn't dare to be careless. While the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was entangled by the python dragon, he hurriedly retracted his dragon blood dharma body. With a sway of his body, the scythe in his hand slashed out once again. Its target was the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Pung, pung, pung! The magic treasure streaked across the sky, and a series of explosive sounds could be heard. At this moment, the space was still enveloped by the fluctuations of the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. The scythe didn't leave behind a beautiful arc, but traces left behind by the shockwaves. With so many shockwaves blocking the scythe, when the magic treasure landed on the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's head, it was no longer as sharp as before. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord sneered coldly. With a flap of its wings, the scythe was sent flying diagonally. It didn't pose any threat to the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord at all. Fellow immortal, at this moment, the python dragon was already twisting its body. Seeing that Ao Zhantian's magic treasure was useless, it shouted, "You go and kill those small fries. Leave this bastard to me." Alright. Ao Zhantian naturally understood the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm's words. With a nod of his head, he moved with all his might. With a flick of his hand, he pounced towards the nearest Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Ho! The python dragon watched Ao Zhantian leave, and a trace of a smile appeared in its eyes. With a loud roar, it opened its mouth and shot out a huge pillar of starlight towards the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Boom, boom, boom! Wherever the pillar of light passed, the shock waves in the surrounding space were all destroyed. At the same time, the python dragon's tail slammed down again, and a mountain-like force enveloped the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord. Dong, dong, dong! The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was greatly alarmed. His mouth and nose emitted a drumming sound, and waves of shockwaves broke through the air in an attempt to block the pillar of light. At the same time, his body also reflected the brilliance of the starlight as he flapped his wings to meet the python dragon's tail. Boom! With a loud bang, the python dragon's tail smashed into the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord's back. Facing the python dragon's sturdy demonic body, the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was unable to resist at all. His 100-jong-tall demonic body floated down like an autumn leaf, and his feathers were sent flying in all directions. Haha! The python dragon laughed loudly. "You're just a bat. How dare you be so arrogant in front of my dragon tribe? Just as the python dragon was laughing maniacally, the eagle bat mountain master, who seemed to have no strength to resist, suddenly spread his wings. His entire body transformed into a strange black shadow, and with lightning speed, he fled towards the dark night at a low altitude. Damn it, you still want to escape in front of me? The python dragon was unwilling to let it go. After a moment of shock, demonic clouds flashed around its body, and it chased after the black shadow. It was also at this moment that Shui Mingzi's voice rang out from afar. Fellow immortal, oh. The python dragon's body turned sluggish, and when it turned its head to look, it saw Shui Mingzi's body flashing with two different colors of light. Layers of blood-red light rippled outwards. The horsetail whisk in Shui Mingzi's hand was able to block the numerous gathering moth beasts, but it was unable to block the power of the bloodline within the blood-red mist. What was special was that at a low altitude, there were thousands of gathering moth beasts, whose eyes were flashing with red light, gathering over without fear of death. Fellow immortal, do you have any ideas? Shui Mingzi shouted loudly. If fellow immortal is able to lend us a hand, I will definitely reward you greatly. What does it have to do with me? The python dragon's words almost caused Shui Mingzi to roll his eyes in anger. You're not even a descendant of the dragon tribe. After the python dragon finished speaking, it turned its head again to look in the direction that the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord had fled. In just a few breaths, the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord had already disappeared without a trace. The python dragon's body flew for 1,000 feet, but it seemed to have some misgivings and stopped chasing. Instead, it looked in Ao Zhantian's direction and called out cheerfully, Fellow immortal, don't worry, I'll help you. Damn it, isn't it just a python dragon? Do you have to think so highly of yourself? You're ignoring me, but I'm going to pay you back. Seeing how the python dragon was so biased, as if it didn't care about his life at all, Shui Mingzi's nose became crooked from anger. He gritted his teeth and opened his mouth, sending a surge of true yuan into his magic treasure. Thousands of starlight appeared once again, but this time, the starlight didn't attack the gathering moth beasts. Instead, it landed on Shui Mingzi's body, following which, Shui Mingzi's body flickered, and his body gradually blurred as he charged into the blood-red mist, flying in the direction of the python dragon. Chapter 43-39. Ao Zhantian's scythe was a powerful magic treasure to begin with, and he had the upper hand against the normal eagle bats. While the python dragon and the eagle bat were clashing, Ao Zhantian had already killed several eagle bats. When he saw the python dragon flying toward him, he was even more elated. Thank you, fellow immortal, you're welcome. You're welcome. Even though the python dragon said that, it was clearly enjoying the compliment. Before it could even get close, its massive python tail smashed toward another eagle bat. Boom! There was no suspense. The eagle bat was struck by the python tail and fell straight into the forest. Giant trees were toppled, and rocks were pulverized. Even the eagle bat was severely wounded. Ha ha ha! The python dragon roared with laughter again. A bunch of little bats dares to taunt the dragon tribe among them. The word dragon clan was enunciated very clearly. Boom boom boom! The python dragon swept its tail horizontally again, instantly sending several eagle bats flying. Ao Zhantian's heart was deeply hurt as he watched the python dragon defeat the eagle bats with ease without using any special abilities. He thought to himself bitterly, fuck, even a powerful dragon can't defeat a snake in its own territory. I'm also a 5th grade essence force cultivator, and this python dragon's strength is similar to I's. However, in this 1,000-beast sacred realm, these little bats can only bully I. They can't do anything to the python's body. Chirp chirp! Just as Ao Zhantian was feeling jealous, a strange screeching sound came from the distant night sky. Cough cough! All of the eagle bats coughed at the same time upon hearing this screeching sound. The entire night sky was once again disrupted by the fluctuations. Ao Zhantian felt another wave of dizziness coming toward him. He hurriedly put away his magic treasure, and prepared to defend himself with his magic power. What are you doing? Trying to escape? What made Ao Zhantian even more depressed was that the python dragon didn't seem to fear the fluctuations of the eagle bats at all. It waved its tail again, and several eagle bats that were trying to escape fell into the forest. Comparisons are odious. Ao Zhantian sighed in exasperation. Oh right, this guy isn't human, he's a demon. Why should I compete with him? Fellow Taoist Ao, hurry up and help me. Ao Zhantian sighed. Shui Mingzi was already flying closer, and he called out loudly. Of course, Ao Zhantian was also completely helpless against the power of the gathering moth beast's bloodline. When he heard Shui Mingzi's request for help, he naturally knew that Shui Mingzi was asking for help from that mysterious python dragon. Furthermore, he had clearly seen the python dragon's disdain for Shui Mingzi. Even though Ao Zhantian didn't know why this python dragon was so close to him, a descendant of the dragon tribe, he knew that as long as he asked, this python dragon would definitely help him. However, Ao Zhantian paused momentarily before speaking. Fellow Taoist Water, seeing as all of our fellow Taoists have already escaped from danger, why should we continue to fight these gathering moth beasts? Let's meet up with Su Tingzi and the others first. Then, we'll search for Xian Ping's nascent soul. Before Shui Mingzi had a chance to reply, the python dragon turned around and extended its massive head over. It spoke in a flattering tone. Fellow Taoist Water, there's no need to rush. Isn't it just a few small things? Let me help you. Fellow Taoist Water Ao Zhantian was truly flattered by the python dragon's enthusiasm. He hurriedly wanted to say something, but the python dragon didn't give him a chance to do so. The python dragon raised its head slightly, and the pillar of starlight around its body shone brightly. Then the python dragon charged toward the gathering moth beasts and the blood mist in its wake. Roar, 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 it roared 3 times in quick succession. Following the roar, a violent gale swept up, and the night sky within a radius of several dozen kilometers darkened. Not only was the blood mist completely swept away by the gale, but even the gathering moth beasts were swept up into the air. Countless huge trees were uprooted at low altitudes, and the howling of the gathering moth beasts reverberated throughout the forest. Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi were dumbstruck. The two of them looked on with incredulity. The gathering moth beasts that 2 out of Aperture Grandmasters and a dozen or so nascent Soul Grandmasters couldn't handle were chased away by the python dragon's 3 roars. Furthermore, the 2 human cultivators could clearly see that the python dragon was only at the 5th grade origin Qi realm. What it relied on was merely its innate divine ability. That was all. Cough cough. Ao Zhantian's mouth gaped open. Just as he was in shock, he suddenly caught a whiff of an indescribable stench. He hurriedly coughed a few times and held his breath. Only then did he discover that the stench was coming from the python dragon's mouth. Ao Zhantian hurriedly coughed a few more times to cover it up. Then he smiled and said, Fellow Taoist Water, let's leave this place first. Once we find a safe place. The python dragon didn't wait for Ao Zhantian to finish his sentence. With me here, what's there to worry about? Hee, that's true. Ao Zhantian was a little embarrassed. He raised his head and looked at Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi also nodded with interest. Oh, just as Ao Zhantian was about to speak again, the python dragon suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Demonic clouds surged around its body, and the pillars of light from the moon and stars fell again. The python dragon's body rapidly shrank. In just a short moment, a demonic beast about the size of an ordinary human appeared in front of Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi. The python dragon greeted Ao Zhantian and spoke in the human language of the hidden immortal continent. My name is Aoi. How should I address you, fellow Taoist Water? Oh, so it's fellow Taoist Ao. Ao Zhantian hurriedly replied respectfully. I am Ao Zhantian. Hee, it really is fellow Taoist Ao. A smile appeared on the face of the python dragon called Aoi. I knew that the weather would be good tonight. Coming out for a walk, I was sure to meet a benefactor. I wonder which dragon palace fellow Taoist Ao is the descendant of. Seeing that Aoi was very unscrupulous and completely ignored him, Shui Mingzi felt helpless. Hearing Aoi's question, his heart couldn't help but tremble. This Ao Zhantian was a little embarrassed. Seeing the smile on Aoi's face, he didn't dare to hide anything. I am a human cultivator from the hidden immortal continent. Although I have the bloodline of the dragon tribe, but I have nothing to do with the dragon palace of the 4 seas. What? You have nothing to do with the dragon palace of the 4 seas? Aoi seemed to deflate. The smile on his face immediately disappeared. He looked Ao Zhantian up and down and said coldly, "Aren't you a descendant of the dragon tribe? How can you have nothing to do with the dragon palace of the four seas?" Ao Zhantian clearly didn't expect Ao Yi's expression to change so quickly. He was stunned for a moment, then he smiled and said, "I am a human, not a member of the sea tribe. How can I have anything to do with the dragon palace of the four seas? If you say no more." Aoi waved his hand and said impatiently, "If you have nothing to do with the dragon palace of the four seas, then why did you show your dragon form? Fuck, this is so troublesome. You made me work for nothing. I was happy for nothing." Fellow immortal Ao Shui Mingzi, who was at the side, smiled faintly and asked, "Doesn't your name have the surname Ao? Could it be that you are not a descendant of the dragon tribe of the dragon palace of the four seas?" Ao Yi's face revealed a trace of anger and embarrassment. He glared at Shui Mingzi with his large eyes. The python tail hidden behind his armor waved, and a demonic cloud appeared in the air. It looked like it was about to fly away. Shui Mingzi's lips curled into a mocking smile. He already knew that this python dragon's true form was a python. He belonged to the Thousand Beasts sacred realm, and his bloodline was relatively low. He thought highly of himself. Not only did he give himself the surname Ao, which only the dragon tribe could use, he also saw himself as a member of the dragon tribe. However, he was not a member of the dragon tribe, which was why he wanted to curry favor with the dragon palace of the four seas. When he saw Ao Zhantian reveal his dragon blood dharma body, he thought that Ao Zhantian had something to do with the dragon palace of the four seas. Thus he came to save him. Now that he saw that Ao Zhantian had nothing to do with the dragon palace of the four seas, he immediately turned his back on him and prepared to leave. Shui Mingzi ignored Aoi and allowed him to leave. However, Ao Zhantian panicked and hurriedly called out, "Fellow immortal Ao, don't be in such a hurry, what? You are not a descendant of the dragon palace of the four seas. Why are you holding me back?" Aoi asked with a cold smile. A faint smile appeared on Ao Zhantian's face as he pulled out his scythe magic treasure. "Take a look at this, fellow immortal." "Why would I look at this?" Aoi did not even look at the magic treasure. He waved his hand and said, "Don't block my way. I still want to go to the North Sea to take a look, hee, fellow immortal." Ao Zhantian did not dare to beat around the bush. "Although I have nothing to do with the dragon palace of the four seas, I have been to the dragon island. This magic treasure is a dragon weapon I obtained on the dragon island." Dragon? Dragon island? Aoi's body trembled when he heard this. However, the smile on his face immediately returned. He hurriedly flew to Ao Zhantian's side and asked, "Fellow immortal Ao, why didn't you say so earlier? So you are a descendant of the dragon island?" Fuck Shui Mingzi almost fainted when he heard Aoi's words. He could not help but curse inwardly. This python must have gone crazy from wanting to have a pure bloodline. As soon as he heard that the dragon palace and the dragon island were related to bloodline, he was just a python. Even if he cultivated for 10 more lifetimes, he would still be a python. He has nothing to do with the true dragon tribe. Cough cough. Ao Zhantian coughed a few times and smiled. "I am not." As soon as Ao Zhantian said no, Aoi's expression changed. Ao Zhantian's eyes darted around, and he quickly changed the subject. "Although I'm not a direct descendant of the dragon island, my dragon bloodline is extremely pure. That's why I had the opportunity to train on the dragon island. Fellow immortal, please take a look. This is the dragon weapon I obtained on the dragon island." Aoi's expression immediately became respectful when he heard this. He reached out with both hands and took the scythe. He looked at it again and again. Although he could not see any dragon chi, he still looked a little reluctant to part with it. "Io, not good. Fuck, if you don't return this python to me, what am I going to do?" Ao Zhantian suddenly panicked. He reached out for the magic treasure again and said, "This dragon weapon is only suitable for humans. After I refined it, the dragon chi is even more restrained. I'm afraid fellow immortal won't be able to see anything." Chapter 4340. This Aoi was clearly reluctant to return the scythe, but after hearing Ao Zhantian say that it could only be used by humans and that it had already been refined, He reluctantly let go. Ao Zhantian hurriedly put away the magic treasure and heaved a sigh of relief. Aoe then probed. Fellow immortal Ao, when will the Dragon Island trial begin? What kind of bloodline do I need? Do I have a chance? Can you introduce me to the Dragon Islands? Dragon King? Country bumpkin. Shui Mingzi cursed in his heart upon hearing Aoe refer to the Dragon Islands dragon tribe as Dragon King. Ao Zhantian chuckled. Fellow immortal Ao, entering the Dragon Island requires an opportunity. Even I won't have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Island in the future. You won't have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Island? Then what are you talking about? Aoe was immediately enraged. Aoe's reaction was completely within Ao Zhantian's expectations. He replied in an unhurried manner. Don't worry, fellow immortal. I won't have a chance to enter the Dragon Island, but I can introduce you to the dragon tribe. Shui Mingzi's brows furrowed slightly upon hearing this. Fellow Taoist Ao, what do you mean by this? Could it be that you want to befriend this demon tribe? Please wait a moment. Fellow immortal Ao Zhantian smiled at Aoe before turning to Shui Mingzi. Fellow Taoist Shui, don't you think it's quite dangerous for us to travel through the 1,000 demon sacred realm with only a dozen or so human cultivators? Tonight, we only encountered moth-gathering beasts and eagle bats, and we were almost annihilated. Although we're all safe now, fellow Taoist Xian Ping's physical body has been destroyed, and his nascent soul is missing. Su Tingzi and the other fellow Taoists have fled in panic. We've traveled more than several million kilometers from Baiqingyu, right? Who knows what kind of demon tribe we'll encounter during this time. Although this python dragon looks annoying, it's still a demon tribe member of the 1,000 demon sacred realm. With him leading the way, wouldn't it save us a lot of effort? But Shui Mingzi suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart and retorted. How can we let a demon tribe member know what we're doing? If this python dragon knows the demon tribe member of the demon tribe of Baiqingyu, wouldn't you be creating trouble for yourself? Not only will our whereabouts be exposed, it will also be a bloody calamity. Moreover, do you think you'll be able to do it? I've heard from fellow Cultivator that you'll never be able to set foot on Dragon Island again. Ao Zhantian seemed to have a card up his sleeve as he replied calmly. Of course we can't let this python know what we're about to do. However, since we are going to Baiqingyu to participate in the banquet, why is there a need to hide this from others? Baiqingyu's Demon King possesses remarkable abilities. It's perfectly normal for us Taoist cultivators to seek his protection. Iman Demon Iman Immortal BBB IMS of AA of IMS Iman Demon Dragon Tribe Members Dragon B Immortals Immortal IMS of the Immortal of Iman Dragon Immortal AO Iming Iman's Iman. This flood dragon's abilities are limited, but he's born with a python's body. His skin is thick and his flesh is hard to deal with. Ao Zhantian gave Shui Mingzi a sideways glance, then said with a meaningful smile on his face, Fellow Taoist Shui, do you think it is impossible for me to introduce this boa dragon to the dragons of Dragon Island? Oh, Shui Mingzi was surprised. If you can't return to Dragon Island, then the dragon tribe won't leave Dragon Island without a special reason at this point. Shui Mingzi was stunned as if he was struck by lightning. He looked at Shui Mingzi in disbelief and asked in surprise, Fellow Taoist, are you saying that the dragon clan from Dragon Island will come to the 1,000 demons sacred realm? Shui Mingzi was so shocked that he forgot to send a voice transmission. When Aoe heard this, his eyes lit up and he almost pulled on Ao Zhantian's robe. He hurriedly said, Immortal friend Ao, when will the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island come to the 1,000 demons sacred realm? Where are they? Hurry up and introduce them to me. Ao Zhantian looked at Shui Mingzi with a wry smile and said to Aoe, Don't worry, Immortal Ao. I'll discuss this with Immortal Aoe. Although I can't be sure if the dragon tribe will come to the 1,000 demons sacred realm, this is still an opportunity. It's better than going to the North Sea alone and searching for the Dragon Palace, right? Hurry up and discuss this. Aoe rubbed his hands together excitedly. Shui Mingzi looked at Aoe's expression with a bitter taste in his mouth. He knew that he couldn't stop this flood dragon from following him. If he had any objections, this flood dragon would definitely fight him. Shui Mingzi had no choice but to transmit his voice to Ao Zhantian. Fellow Taoist Ao, I don't think the Dragon Island will be interested in the Thousand Beast Holy Realms Qing banquet. Even though Bai Qingyu has invited the Thousand Beast Holy Realms Qing banquet, I don't think the Dragon Island will be interested in it. So if you don't mind me asking, which dragon tribe member do you think will come to Bai Qingyu? Ao Zhantian looked in the direction of the North Sea and smiled mysteriously. The Dragon Island naturally won't be interested in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. However, if they find out that Xiaohua has been suppressed by Bai Qingyu, even if all the dragon tribe members don't come, their junior elder, Ao Sheng, will still come. Junior elder? Ao Sheng? Shui Mingzi was dumbstruck. Which dragon tribe member is he? Ao Zhantian looked at Shui Mingzi and replied, "This is a secret of the Dragon Island, so forgive me for not being able to explain it to you. To tell you the truth, it's precisely because I have this bit of confidence that I dare to come to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm with all of you." Great Shui Mingzi was ecstatic. "Why didn't you tell us earlier that you have such a strong backing? Although we came here with the intention of dying to save Taoist Xiao, wouldn't we be able to raise our morale if we had such a strong backing?" Ao Zhantian replied, "I wasn't sure either. If I had told you earlier, it might have ruined the Dragon Island's plans." "You're right." Shui Mingzi nodded vigorously. "This is an important matter. We definitely can't let Bai Qingyu know about it." Shui Mingzi looked at the excited Aoe with a remorseful expression. He wondered if this python dragon would ruin their plans. Ao Zhantian, on the other hand, asked Aoe with a smile, "Fellow immortal Ao, do you know the Thousand Demons Sacred Realms Bai Qingyu?" "Bai Qingyu?" Aoe was taken aback. "Is that the Dragon Island's base in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm?" Ao Zhantian was speechless. It seemed like Aoe's every sentence had something to do with the dragon tribe to flaunt his bloodline. "No," Ao Zhantian explained. "Bai Qingyu is the territory of a demon monarch in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm." "Demon monarch?" Aoe's expression froze. He didn't ask any questions, as if he was thinking about something. An extremely powerful demon monarch," Ao Zhantian said. "This demon monarch is going to hold a banquet soon. We're heading to Bai Qingyu to seek the protection of this demon monarch. I know that a member of the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island will also be attending this banquet." Before Ao Zhantian could finish, Aoe was already beaming with joy. "A powerful demon monarch. Good. I didn't think that I would hit the jackpot today. Not only will I be able to befriend a member of the dragon tribe from the Dragon Island, but I'll also be able to befriend a powerful demon monarch. My efforts today weren't in vain. Fellow immortal Ao, where's Bai Qingyu? Let's go, bring me there." Ao Zhantian smiled at Shui Mingzi when he saw that this unscrupulous python dragon had already taken the bait. He then said to Aoe, "Fellow immortal Aoe, there's no need to be in such a hurry. I still have a few other fellow Taoists who were separated by the gathering moth beasts. I still have to find them first. How can I not be in a hurry?" Aoe urged. "I've been searching for so long," and finally Aoe immediately shut his mouth. He coughed twice and pretended to be an expert. He nodded and said, You humans are really weak. Aren't you just a few gathering moth beasts? Just because they separated you? Lead the way, and I'll stand guard for you. You can flatten the entire Thousand Demons Sacred Realm." Yes, fellow immortal, please." Ao Zhantian nodded and winked at Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi's lips curled into an indescribable expression as he flew off in a certain direction. Ao Zhantian waved his hand and flew off carefully, leaving Aoe behind. Aoe was the only one left. He slowly moved his body and followed behind the two human cultivators. The first rays of dawn had already appeared on the horizon. A cool breeze blew on Aoe's face. The ugly face of the anaconda dragon clearly carried a human smile. This Aoe was Xiaohua, the one who shouted that the illusory pearl had transformed into a python dragon. He didn't attract the attention of Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi at all, and he blended into the group that was going to save Xiaohua. Ao Zhantian naturally didn't know if Ao Sheng would come. However, before he left the Dragon Island, he clearly saw that the relationship between Ao Sheng and Xiaohua was definitely not ordinary. since he was willing to go all the way to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm in order to save Xiaohua. How could Ao Sheng, a minor elder of the Dragon Island, not come when he heard the news? Ao Zhantian's prediction was naturally correct. Far to the west of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, near the shore of the West Sea, boom, a huge wave soared into the sky, and a loud dragon's roar shook the surroundings. The originally calm sea instantly became turbulent, and a dragon's body that was several thousand feet long flew out from the bottom of the sea. The moment the dragon rushed out of the sea, it immediately flew into the sky like a flying dragon. Under the dragon's roar, the originally clear sky immediately became turbulent, and waves of dark clouds surged in from all directions. Regardless of whether it was the dark sky or the snow-like waves on the sea, all of it revealed the fiery fury of the dragon. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The huge dragon rushed into the sky, and frantically circled the clouds several times. It opened its mouth and shouted 3 times toward the sky. In the end it yelled again, "Bai Qingyu, you dare to suppress the dragon master of the dragon tribe? If I don't smash you, Bai Qingyu, into pieces, then I'm not a minor elder of the Dragon Island." As the clouds shattered, the appearance of the dragon was revealed. It was the furious Ao Sheng. Chapter 43-41. Junior Elder. Junior Elder Ao Sheng roared angrily. Just as he was about to fly in the direction of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, another dozen dragon generals flew out from under the sea. The first dragon general shouted, "Senior Elder, don't be in such a hurry. Bai Qingyu is merely a demon realm in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The Demon King there is not even famous. How could he have the guts to suppress our Dragon Clan's Dragon Master? What you've heard is nothing more than some rumors. Second Elder has already sent out dragon generals to Bai Qingyu to gather information. If Xiaohua, Dragon Teacher Xiao, is really suppressed in Bai Qingyu, there's no need for you to head there personally. My Dragon Island would have long dispatched troops to eliminate Bai Qingyu." Scram. Ao Sheng was even more furious. "Don't follow behind me. Don't think that I don't know. You have already known about Bai Qingyu and the rumor that Xiao Longshire might be suppressed in Bai Qingyu. Then, why didn't you tell me earlier? If it wasn't for me, how could I have eavesdropped on this matter? How long do you want to hide it from me?" Junior Elder. Although the Dragon General felt wronged, he didn't dare to talk back to Ao Sheng. Instead he smiled and said, "If you are angry, you can vent your anger on me. This matter is far from as simple as Junior Elder thinks. Although our Dragon Island didn't announce Xiao Longshire's matter to the world, the Great Holy Palace in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm still knows about it. That demon in Bai Qingyu must have received the news as well. Since they know that Xiaohua is our Dragon Clan's Dragon Master, they still dared to risk universal condemnation to suppress him. They must have something to rely on. It's not difficult for our Dragon Island to kill Bai Qingyu, but it's difficult to find the person behind them. Moreover, Bai Qingyu is in the depths of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Even if our Dragon Island dispatches troops, it will easily arouse the disgust of the Great Holy Palace. It might even lead to a war. Oh, and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Therefore, the opinions of the various elders are not unanimous. It's hard for us to issue the Dragon Island command." Ao Sheng roared in midair. "Is there any use in saying this now? You just need to tell me, is Xiao Longshire suppressed in Bai Qingyu? Do you have any plans to save him?" The Dragon General hesitated for a moment before shaking his head and saying, "This subordinate cannot be sure if Dragon Teacher Xiao is being suppressed in Bai Qingyu. Furthermore, without the order of the Dragon Hall's elder, I cannot go." Scram, scram, scram. Ao Sheng became even more furious and shouted, "Since you can't go, then don't talk nonsense here. In any case, Laozi has already decided. If you guys don't go, Laozi will go. Laozi only has Xiaohua as a good friend in this world. If Laozi doesn't save him, who will?" That Long Jiang still smiles and says, "We naturally won't go and save Dragon Master Xiao. However, we need to protect Junior Clan Elder. If Junior Clan Elder goes to Bai Qingyu, we will have to accompany her." Holy shit, Ao Sheng was stunned for a moment, and then he said happily, "So this is your plan? Tell me, is this the Great Elder's idea?" Long Jiang had an innocent look on his face as he shook his head and said, "This subordinate never said that this was the Great Elder's idea." Ha ha ha! Ao Sheng laughed loudly and swung his dragon tail, saying, "If that's the case, why aren't you guys following Laozi to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm?" Don't rush. That Long Jiang narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the West Ocean and replied, "The dragon who leaked the news of Bai Qingyu to Junior Clan Elder hasn't appeared yet. How can we go to Bai Qingyu alone?" "It can't be." Ao Sheng stopped smiling and said with a bitter face, "Does the Great Elder know about this as well?" This subordinate must correct Junior Clan Elder's words. Long Jiang said seriously, "The Great Elder doesn't know about this at all. Even the elders of the Dragon Hall don't know about this at all. Junior Clan Elder made the decision on her own. In order to protect Junior Clan Elder, this subordinate has no choice but to go to Bai Qingyu. As for Junior Clan Elder being with Ao Zhan, that's purely an accident." Roar! Just as Long Jiang finished speaking, a pitch-black dragon body rushed out of the blue water in the West Ocean. An unusually ferocious aura was emitted from the dragon horn on the dragon body. Ao Sheng looked up and saw Ao Zhan in his pitch-black dragon armor. There weren't any other dragons behind Ao Zhan. However, as soon as Ao Zhan appeared, the dozen or so Long Jiang beside Ao Sheng immediately became alert. They silently spread out and protected Ao Sheng in the center. Oh, why are there only a few Long Jiang? Ao Zhan didn't release his Yuanshin because he wanted to hide his tracks. When he saw the dozen or so Long Jiang beside Ao Sheng, he couldn't help but be surprised. He shouted, "Damn it, just the few of you are not even enough to fill the gaps between Bai Qingyu's teeth." After saying that, Ao Zhan stopped in midair and looked at Ao Sheng thoughtfully. He then said, "Ao Sheng, did you not tell the Great Elder about the information I gave you?" Impudent. Without waiting for Ao Sheng to speak, the leading Long Jiang berated, "This is our Dragon Island's Junior Clan Elder, Ao Zhan. How can you call him by his name?" "Go away!" Ao Sheng's face was full of disdain. He waved his dragon claw and pulled the Long Jiang aside. He said, "Ao Zhan and I have experienced life and death in the Stacked Jade Legacy realm. There's no need to use the Dragon Island's rules to restrain him. Besides, in the future..." Seeing that Ao Sheng was about to reveal some secret, Ao Zhan hurriedly coughed and stopped Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng chuckled and replied, "Do I need you to say it? Of course I know what you mean. After I got the information, I quickly went to find the Great Elder. However, ever since he left the folded Jadeite Legacy realm, he has been meditating. Not to mention me. Even the other elders don't see him often. The majority of the Dragon Island's affairs are all controlled by the second elder." "Oh, the second elder." Ao Zhan's eyes narrowed as a strange expression appeared on his face. "Although I didn't see the Great Elder, I also reported the matter to the Great Elder's follower." Ao Sheng explained again, but after the follower returned he didn't say anything. "I could only go to the fourth elder. The fourth elder berated me and told me not to meddle in the matters that didn't exist. He then chased me out." At this point, Ao Sheng looked at the Long Jiang on the left and smiled. "However, when I secretly sneaked out of the Dragon Island, I actually found a Long Jiang. When these Long Jiang were chasing me, I also brought them out of the Dragon Island. So actually, there was no need for Ao Sheng to say anything more." Ao Zhan had already heard the strangeness of the matter. He sighed and looked at Ao Sheng meaningfully. "Ao Sheng, actually, I am already regretting telling you about Bai Qingyu's matter." "Why?" Ao Sheng looked at Ao Zhan in shock and confusion. Because Ao Zhan said word by word, "I didn't expect that Ao Sheng, a small elder of the Dragon Island, would be willing to go through a mountain of swords and a sea of flames for the sake of a close friend." Damn it! Ao Sheng's eyes were a little wet as he laughed. "Isn't it just a mountain of swords? Isn't it just a sea of flames? I don't even care about them." But a hint of warmth appeared in Ao Zhan's eyes as he solemnly advised, "Ao Sheng, you're a minor elder of Dragon Island. You're different from the other dragons, and you're also different from me. Let's not talk about where you are or what others say. You represent the Dragon Island. Your words and actions cannot be crossed in any way." Bullshit. Ao Sheng was getting impatient. He waved his tail in the air and shouted, "I am Ao Sheng. I have nothing to do with the Dragon Island. That's right. Your Ao Sheng. Ao Zhan nodded solemnly. That's exactly what the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas is thinking. Ao Sheng's death is completely different from the death of a minor elder. Who dares? Ao Sheng was about to roar again, but before he could finish, Ao Zhan roared and the dragon chi around him surged. Thick dragon marks appeared on the black dragon armor. Once the dragon marks appeared, not only did the seawater below Ao Zhan soar into the sky, countless water-based chi of heaven and earth turned into crystals and fell into the dragon marks. Even the other chi of heaven and earth within a few miles turned into a gust of wind and rushed towards him. How dare you! The dragon generals protecting Ao Sheng were shocked. They hurriedly moved and tried to block in front of Ao Sheng. However, when Ao Sheng roared earlier, he was already much closer to Ao Zhan. Now that Ao Zhan suddenly exerted force, the black light turned into several dragon phantoms, and pounced on Ao Sheng from all directions. The dragon generals couldn't tell what was real and what was fake, so they didn't dare to move forward. When they wanted to block Ao Sheng behind them roared, "Get out of the way!" Woo woo! Behind the dragon generals, a golden light appeared. Within the light, streaks of dragon patterns covered the sky as they rushed towards the black dragon mark. Within the light, Ao Sheng's dragon body was like a mountain as it rushed towards the black dragon mark with a sharp aura and dragon's might. Boom! Ao Sheng flew out of the protection of the dragon generals and collided with Ao Zhan's dragon body. Waves of air surged into the sky. Not only did it tear 1,000 feet deep trench in the sea, it even tore the clouds in the sky apart. Roar, roar, roar! Ao Sheng and Ao Zhan's dragon bodies were tumbling in the sky. Within the light, the two dragons were roaring crazily. Damn it! After a while, Ao Sheng stabilized his dragon body in the sky and shouted, "Ao Zhan, it's only been 200 years. How did your strength increase so quickly?" Ao Zhan looked a little worse than Ao Sheng, but the excitement on his face was obvious. You're under the protection of Dragon Island. How would you know our pain? Although the forbidden areas of Dragon Island can be used for training, compared to a real life and death battle, it's still not enough. Ao Sheng, I just want to tell you that this trip to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is not a smooth journey. You can get whatever you want on the Dragon Island, but outside of the Dragon Island, if you represent the Dragon Island, no human or monster would dare to give you any slight treatment. However, if you're not a little elder of Dragon Island, but just Ao Sheng, with your little strength, even I can compete with you, let alone other dragons. You will easily become the target of other dragons. In particular, Bai Qingyu was able to suppress Xiaohua. That demon king's strength is far beyond ours. Therefore, I feel that there's no need for you to get involved in the trip to Bai Qingyu. Just let me go. Chapter 43-42. Ao Sheng, of course, understood Ao Zhan's painstaking efforts. He coiled his dragon body in midair and looked at the turbulent sky. In the distant sky, a patch of darkness had already blocked out the bright sunlight, and the darkness was rapidly spreading to the entire sky. Perhaps it would not be long before a violent storm arrived. Ao Sheng retracted his gaze from the dark clouds and looked at Ao Zhan. Similarly, he answered word by word, "Xiaohua is my best friend. He is being suppressed by Bai Qingyu. If I don't go, how can I still stand in this world? Since you said that the training on the Dragon Island is just a small storm, then this daddy wants to see what kind of storm the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm will be like." Don't worry, Ao Zhan raised his dragon head and laughed. Even if there is a storm, I will stand in front of you, let's go. Ao Sheng shouted before Ao Zhan could finish his sentence. Then demonic clouds surged around Ao Sheng's body, and his dragon body flew high into the sky in the direction of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Haha! Ao Zhan laughed in the sky when he saw the dozen or so dragon generals chasing after Ao Sheng. He urged his dragon body to fly away. The Thousand Demons Sacred Realm in the distance was like the back of a giant beast on the surface of the sea. Although he couldn't see its true appearance, Ao Zhan knew that what awaited him was a bloody storm that he had never seen before. In the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, at the Yizhao Ridge, Xiaohua proudly followed Xue Mingzi and Ao Zhantian into the distance. After a long time, the Eagle Bat Mountain Lord flew out from a distant hill with a few eagle bats. The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord was not used to the intense sunlight, But he still flew high into the sky and looked in the direction Xiaohua left in. Only then did he speak. Fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy, how many boy did my Izhao Ridge lose in last night's battle? Reporting to Mountain Lord, 43 boy. The same Mountain Patrol Envoy from last night hurriedly replied. How dare they injure so many boy of mine? The Eagle Bat Mountain Lord cursed fiercely. Those damned human cultivators, if it weren't for the ancient Bell Mountain, this daddy would have killed them all. Hee, Mountain Lord, the loss of my Illumination Ridge is nothing. You haven't seen the moth-gathering beasts yet. After being tormented by those human cultivators and that disgusting python, not only did they fail to mate normally, most of them died. I'm afraid it will take them 1.5 years to recover. What does the life and death of the moth-gathering beast have to do with me? Eagle Bat Mountain Master glared at Eagle Bat and scolded. This daddy is feeling heartache for those 43 boy. They died for nothing. Actually, the fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy spoke up again. Mountain Lord, you have to think about how to explain this to the ancient Bell Mountain. After all, we didn't follow the instructions of that human. When the Eagle Bat Mountain Master heard that, he subconsciously flapped his wings and roared. What else is there to explain? It's not that I don't want to give that human a chance to defeat me. It was just that last night was too strange. Not only were they about to encounter a gathering of moths to mate, but a python appeared at the end. I haven't even feigned defeat, and that python dragon has already defeated me. That python dragon is a true demon of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. How can we eagle bats compare to it? Yes, that's true. The fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy replied with a smile. But we didn't follow the plan and let that human save all the other humans. I'm sure it will affect the arrangements of the ancient Bell Mountain. If the ancient Bell Mountain sends a demon general over, the Mountain Lord will have to explain properly. Don't cause a misunderstanding with the ancient Bell Mountain, damn it. These humans are so troublesome, Eagle Bat Mountain Master said impatiently. I don't know what the ancient Bell Mountain is planning. What are they playing at? With that, Eagle Bat Mountain Master flapped his wings and descended the hill. He ordered, you and the others continue to check the surroundings. There have been many humans coming from the North Sea recently. Who knows what kind of trouble there might be? Yes, the eagles and bats responded and flew to different places. The fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy flew in the air for a while and understood the situation of the nearby mountain range. Then he turned his head and listened for a long time. Then he turned around and flew into the forest of giant trees. He carefully concealed himself and headed towards the mountain range in the distance. After flying for the time it took to finish a meal, the fourth Mountain Patrol Envoy finally arrived at the side of the mountain range. He saw that the eagle bat didn't approach the mountain range. Instead, it landed on a protruding mountain rock and raised its head to cough at the surroundings. The sound waves naturally caused some ripples, causing many giant trees and rocks to shatter. After waiting for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, and seeing that there was no abnormal movement, the eagle bat landed in the valley in the distance. In the valley, there was a shallow pool with rippling water. Halfway up the mountain, there was a small waterfall. The sound of flowing water wasn't particularly loud. The eagle bat flew over the pool and arrived in front of the waterfall. It coughed a few times and the water of the waterfall was immediately lifted, revealing a rather large cave inside. The eagle bat rushed into the water without hesitation and landed in the cave. At that moment, the cave flickered with the light of a restriction. It was triggered by the eagle bat's sound waves. The eagle bat retracted its wings and didn't go deeper into the cave. Instead, it stood there and called out, "Is fellow immortal here?" Gurgle, a sound like a gushing fountain came from the cave. Then, a tricolored brilliance surged out like water. A human cultivator in Taoist robes stood above the brilliance. The human cultivator's hair and beard were all white, and his face was thin. His eyes were slightly closed, and his palms outside of his Taoist robe were unusually fair. Even though he was very thin, the veins on his skin were clearly visible, like the veins of jade. Looking at the appearance of this human cultivator, wasn't it Master Fantion who was taken away by the Grand Mist Ancestor in the Western Paradise? Master Fantion flew to a place not far away from the eagle bat. He suddenly opened his eyes, and a wave-like splendor appeared in his eyes. The splendor fell on the eagle bat, circled a little, and then swept out of the cave again. Hee, fellow immortal. Don't worry. The eagle bat seemed to have sensed Master Fontaine's eye-clearing technique and smiled faintly. Within a radius of 3,000 miles of this Izhao ridge, it's the world of the eagle bat. There's absolutely no other demon race that dares to follow behind me. After Venerable Master Fantion took a look, the clear light in his eyes slowly disappeared, revealing his clear black and white eyes. However, there was obviously a kind of contempt in his eyes. He nodded and asked casually, "Last night, there were continuous roars in the vicinity of Illumination Ridge. Was there any unusual movement?" "Of course there was. Otherwise, why would I be in front of fellow immortal?" The eagle bat smiled and replied faintly, "Oh, are they Dao sect disciples from Blackwind Ridge?" Master Fantion raised an eyebrow and asked, "How many of them came? Did they pass by Izhao Ridge?" The eagle bat hesitated for a moment before replying, "Fellow immortal's question really makes it difficult for me. The unusual movement last night is related to Bai Qingyu. I don't dare to speak carelessly outside." Master Fontaine's eyes lit up when he heard the eagle bat mention Bai Qingyu. He raised his hand and took out a small Qingkuan pouch and handed it to the eagle bat. "Fellow immortal, this is a pill refined by my ancestor. It's very useful for demon race in the 1,000 demon sacred realm, especially a few marrow cleansing pills. Ordinary demon race light gathering realm cultivators will have unexpected effects if they take them." Haha, the eagle bat didn't refuse and took the pouch. "Thank you, fellow immortal." After putting away the pouch, the eagle bat said, "I really don't know how you humans are so smart. The pills you refined are truly miraculous. I've already tried the pills fellow immortal gave me before. The effects are completely consistent with what fellow immortal said." Hee, Master Fantion replied, "Our Dao sect's secret techniques have a long history and can be traced back to ancient times. The Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect were suppressed by our Dao sect to the point that they couldn't even raise their heads. Now our Dao sect's pill refinement techniques are only superficial. Of course, even this superficial technique is still difficult for the Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect to reach. Now, my ancestor is the #1 pill refiner in the world. If he claims to be #2, no one would dare to claim to be #1. As long as fellow immortal works with my ancestor, there will be countless opportunities like this in the future. Immortal pills and miraculous medicines will be as easy as lifting a finger." "Haha, that's good, that's good." The eagle bat laughed. "In that case, I don't dare to hide anything from fellow immortal. The people who passed by my Izhao Ridge last night weren't the Blackwind Ridge disciples you mentioned. Most of these cultivators were at the 4th level of Essence Qi. 2 of them were even at the 5th level. They don't match the strength of the Blackwind Ridge disciples. Of course, these dozen or so Dao sect cultivators are also from the human race. If they pass by my Izhao Ridge under normal circumstances, we wouldn't interfere too much. However, before fellow immortal came to find me, one of the humans came with the token of the ancient Bell Mountains Demon King, and asked my Izhao Ridge to put on a show with him." "Put on a show? What do you mean?" When he heard that the person who came wasn't the Blackwind Ridge disciple he was concerned about, Venerable Master Heaven Flipping was a little distracted. However, when he heard the eagle bat's explanation, he was stunned and asked curiously. The eagle bat laughed. "It's a show. Let my mountain lord defeat the other human cultivators, and let this human rescue the other cultivators. Let this cultivator be the leader of the other cultivators." Hee, that's really interesting. Venerable Master Heaven Flipping laughed. "It seems that the show yesterday was very exciting. If this old man wasn't afraid of being discovered by your mountain lord, I would have gone to take a look long ago." "It's more than exciting," the eagle bat replied. "It's simply brilliant. Thinking about it now makes this old man very excited. Fellow immortal, can you tell us more about it?" Venerable Master Heaven Flipping asked with a smile. Chapter 43. Seeing that Venerable Master Fantion was interested, Eagle Bat couldn't help but smile. "Of course, don't you humans have a saying that you don't deserve it? I got so many elixirs from you, but I didn't help you catch a few disciples of the Blackwind Ridge, so I naturally have to tell you in detail." After Eaglebat explained the process of the matter, Venerable Master Fantion frowned and asked thoughtfully, "What is the name of the human descendant of the ancient Bell Mountain?" "I don't know about this." Eaglebat shook his head and said, "When that human came, it was my master who received him personally. We weren't there." "You said that one of the two human cultivators with 5th level essence power is surnamed Ao, and the other is surnamed Shui? What about the other cultivators?" Venerable Master Fantion thought for a moment, and asked again. Eaglebat thought for a moment and replied, "The cultivator surnamed Shui is the descendant of the ancient Bell Mountain. I didn't hear the other names clearly. Oh, it seems that one of them is called Xiantingzi?" "Xiantingzi?" Venerable Master Fantion thought for a moment and said, "As far as I know, among the nascent soul cultivators on the hidden immortal continent, there is one called Xiantingzi. He seems to have participated in." Speaking of this, Venerable Master Fantion's face showed a trace of ecstasy. He raised his hand and said, "Fellow cultivator, I still have some things to do, so I won't see you off." Eaglebat didn't care what Venerable Master Fantion was thinking. He understood the meaning of Venerable Master Fantion's words. He spread his wings and flew out of the cave. Then he carefully flew toward the hill. Venerable Master Fantion's body flashed with water light again. He didn't rush to use the water escape technique to leave. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the water splashing down. He secretly smiled. Xiantingzi participated in the Yaotai gathering more than 200 years ago. Not only did 80% of the nascent soul cultivators die on the Yaotai Mountain, even the Star Lord Hall's Master Kong Hongwu, Jing Mu Xian, Tail Fire Tiger, Sun Horse of Star, and Plum Sun Chicken all died. The strangest thing is that until now, the Immortal Palace still hasn't found out who killed these Star Lords. Xiaohua naturally participated in that Jade Pavilion gathering, and he is the most suspicious. Now that Xiaohua was being suppressed by Bai Qingyu, Su Tingzi must have taken the risk to head to Bai Qingyu for Xiaohua. There must be some unknown secret behind this. Since all the cultivators with Su Tingzi are heading to Bai Qingyu, this cultivator with the surname Ao should be Ao Zhantian, who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. The cultivator with the surname Shui should be Shui Mingzi. Motherfucker, I really didn't expect Shui Mingzi to have the bloodline of the demon clan. He's even related to the ancient Bell Mountain. It was precisely because of the ancient Bell Mountain that he was able to step into the leaving aperture stage so easily. That was why he was so bold as to try and recruit Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the other cultivators under his command. Looks like my patriarch isn't the only one who has designs on the Black Wind Ridge Dao sect. Things are getting more and more interesting. This old man has to hurry and take a look elsewhere to see if there are any other Dao sect cultivators who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. I also have to pass this news to the patriarch as soon as possible. This puny Xiaohua, I'm afraid he doesn't just control the Black Wind Ridge Dao sect. He also has some other powers that the patriarch doesn't know about. Esteemed Master Fantian's figure swayed in midair as several splashes appeared. Just as he was about to disappear, he seemed to have thought of something and his figure froze in midair. He waved his hand and a jade slip appeared in his hand. He pressed the jade slip against his forehead. After a while he frowned and muttered to himself, "Motherfucker," as expected. Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian weren't the strongest Dao sect cultivators who participated in the Jade Pavilion meeting. There were still 3 people who were suspected by the Immortal Palace back then. They were esteemed Master Sun Kong, Zhai Xingzi, and Zhang Daoran. These 3 were the most powerful of the surviving Daoist cultivators. Ao Zhantian and the others were here, so how could esteemed Master Sun Kong be far behind? These 3 were already in the late-stage nascent soul realm back then. I wonder if they had the opportunity to enter the out-of-aperture realm in the past 200 years. If they really did enter the out-of-aperture realm, this old man is no match for them. The Patriarch's plan will most likely be affected. When Master Fantion said this, he put away the jade slip again. His expression became even more solemn. Then the water around him shone brightly. His body flashed slightly and turned into a stream of water light, disappearing from sight. In this world, anything that could happen would always appear in front of you inadvertently. Since esteemed Master Fantion could think of it, it would naturally happen. In the eastern part of the Thousand Demons sacred realm, there was a mountain range. A kind of bewitching purple demon grass covered the entire land and mountain peaks. The purple color that covered the entire mountain range was like a magnificent wave that flooded the entire world. Anyone who saw this purple color would involuntarily feel an indescribable sense of suffocation. This was a kind of beauty that didn't seem to exist in the mortal world. All humans and demons passing by couldn't help but stop in their tracks. On one of the purple waves, a beautiful woman in purple robes leaped about like a drop of water. Her bell-like laughter and waves of praise played a beautiful melody on the tranquil painting. Behind the woman were 3 Dao sect cultivators. The one in front was dressed in emperor's robes. There was a smile on his sculpted face. His smile was filled with boundless affection, and his gaze never left the woman. The 2 cultivators behind the emperor's garb tactfully distanced themselves from the 2. One of them looked at everything in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Sigh, Brother Daoran. Do you think we should fly to Baiqingyu first and let this pair of lovers stay here for a while? Hee, Brother Sun Kong, we've already been in the 1,000 Demons sacred realm for more than 10 days. I don't dare to say that I'll meet demons every day, but I'm tired of fighting so much. Looking at such a beautiful scenery, not to mention Fairy Gusu. Even this old man is a little intoxicated. Brother Daoran was naturally the Zhang Daoran that Fantian spoke of. At this moment, he also narrowed his eyes as he looked at the endless purple, and spoke to Sun Kong very indifferently. Sun Kong curled his lips and rolled his eyes at Zhang Daoran. Zhai Xingzi and Gusu Qiudi are together and living a carefree life. Why are you pretending to be cultured behind them? There are so many beautiful sceneries in the 1,000 Demons sacred realm. Why are you only intoxicated by this place? The people are beauties, the scenery is beautiful. Zhang Daoran smiled. Isn't it a great joy for us to be able to accompany fellow Taoist Zhai Xingzi to see such beautiful sceneries? Who's speaking ill of others behind their backs? The emperor-robed cultivator in front was naturally Zhai Xingzi. He turned his head slightly and asked the 2 with a smile. Who's speaking ill of you behind your back? Sun Kong jumped up. I didn't plan on hiding it from you, Zhai Xingzi laughed. He pointed at Sun Kong and said, Haha, aren't you behind my back at this moment? There was a loud rumble on a hill about 1,000 feet away from Gusu Qiudi. Dozens of pillars of Aoran Qi suddenly appeared. Within the pillars of Aoran Qi, chains of inscriptions that flashed with brilliance lunged at Gusu Qiudi like venomous snakes. Every single inscription on the chains of inscriptions produced a vortex of Aoran Qi. The dozens of chains of inscriptions separated Gusu Qiudi and Zhai Xingzi, sealing the space within 1,000 feet. The vast aura whirlpool-like vast aura crazily intertwined in the space and bound Gusu Qiudi's graceful body. In just a short moment, the originally calm and beautiful purple ocean was stirred up by a storm. Under the inscription chains, countless demonic grasses soared into the sky. The small and weak demonic grasses were crushed by the Aoran energy pillar, turning into purple juice that sprinkled all over the sky. Under the sunlight, this purple color was just like Gusu Qiudi's horror. It was truly heartbreaking. Zhai Xingzi's heart was naturally broken. His stone-like face twisted in pain. The Fali around him surged, and stars appeared on the surface of his body. As Zhai Xingzi waved his hand, a giant hand condensed from starlight flew across the sky and grabbed at the vast aura chains. Haha, before the huge hand could land, dozens of shadows of light rushed out from the purple vortex. The shadows of light were first flat and distorted, but when they reached midair, hundreds of mighty pillars of air came crashing down with loud rumbles. The pillars of air crashed into the shadows of light, and in the blink of an eye, the shadows of light filled up. With a loud laugh, the shadows of light broke apart rapidly, and each of them turned into an old man hundreds of feet tall. These old men wore black scholarly robes. The moment they appeared, they waved their hands and the vast aura chains fell into their hands. As the old men waved the chains, some of the chains fell in all directions. It was clear that they wanted to seal the entire space. Some of the other chains pounced towards Zhai Xingzi and the others. Just as Zhai Xingzi's giant hand was about to grab the inscription chain, the chain suddenly expanded. The inscriptions that were surging within the chain actually broke free from the chain and condensed into lines of poetry. With a great chi pillar, they crashed into the starlight hand like numerous flying arrows. When the inscription's armor runes crashed into the vast aura hand, there was a loud explosion. Boom boom boom. In the midst of the explosion, half of the vast aura hand was destroyed. Swoosh. Zhai Xingzi's expression changed slightly. The starlight around his body was activated once again. The giant hand let out another loud rumble. As Zhai Xingzi's body was about to fall again, the two inscription chains that were closest to the giant hand of starlight intertwined with each other and landed on the giant hand of starlight. Boom. The giant hand of starlight finally couldn't hold on any longer. Under the great pillar of qi, it turned into specks of starlight. Damn it! Zhai Xingzi's divine sense swept over and saw that Gusichioti's figure had already disappeared under the Minglu shackles. Unknowingly, he was enraged. He cursed in his heart and slapped his head. Pooh! Thousands of starlight rushed out and turned into a star above his head. That star slowly rotated in the sky. Boom boom boom. Hundreds of light pillars of stars and moons broke through the barrier of the great pillar of qi and fell into the star. Chapter 43-44. Not good. The two old Confucian cultivators who were facing Zhai Xingzi were shocked when they saw the starlight. Although they knew that Zhai Xingzi could use the power of the stars and moon in the Thousand Demons sacred realm, which was especially favored by the power of the stars and moon, it wasn't easy to deal with. The two of them had taken the initiative by sneak attacking Zhai Xingzi and sealed the space around him, but they still underestimated Zhai Xingzi's strength. They didn't expect Zhai Xingzi to break through their joint attack. Buzz buzz. The stars above Zhai Xingzi's head expanded wildly. When the power of the stars and moon entered Zhai Xingzi's body, his body also let out a roar and expanded rapidly. Kill. The two old Confucian cultivators looked at each other, and killing intent suddenly appeared in their eyes. They each opened their mouths, and two streams of sword light with green light shot towards Zhai Xingzi's chest and back respectively. Boom. The two sword waves were extremely sharp. Wherever they went, whether it was the great qi pillar or the starlight pillar, they were all easily destroyed. In just an instant, they pierced into the starlight protecting Zhai Xingzi's body. Break. Seeing the sword light enter his body, Zhai Xingzi sneered. He didn't care about the sword light at all. Instead, he chanted and pointed his finger. Pung. The spinning stars in the sky suddenly exploded, and an almost oval black hole appeared in the middle of the stars. After the stars exploded, they turned into star shatter. However, this star fragment was different from the life treasure starfall that Zhai Xingzi had used before. This star fragment was like a starry sky. Within it, there were dozens of stars of different sizes. Moreover, each star was emitting a different brilliance and fluctuation. These dozens of stars were connected by a mysterious fluctuation. It was likely that other than Zhai Xingzi, no one else would be able to sense these fluctuations. At this moment, after the star fragment exploded, it carried the spatial power of the black hole, and the power of the light beam of the moon and stars as it crazily smashed towards the two Confucian cultivators. The distorted space was just like Zhai Xingzi's distorted mood. Boom boom. The star shatterer was even faster than a meteor. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, it had already smashed into the two secondary bodies of the Confucian cultivators. An incessant rumbling sound suddenly resounded as the secondary bodies of the two Confucian cultivators were torn apart by the star shatterer. Not only did the vast energy pillar collapse, but even blood splashed out. Ka ka ka. At this point, even the starlight that had been resisting the two waves of swords could not hold on any longer. The nascent soul avatar that was hundreds of feet tall began to crack from the inside out. Pieces of starlight were quickly annihilated by the wind. Roar. Zhai Xingzi's torn emperor's outfit was revealed at the spot where the star brilliance had been destroyed. There were bloodstains on the emperor's outfit, but Zhai Xingzi's eyes were wide open. How could he care about his injuries? He raised his head and roared. Like a trapped beast, his body glowed with starlight again. He was ready to pounce on the defensive formation that trapped Gusichioti. Under the scheme of the Confucian cultivator, Zhai Xingzi was injured right from the start. Although it was because Gusichioti was trapped and he was a little anxious, in the end, it was because the Confucian cultivator who ambushed him was stronger. If Zhai Xingzi was in such a state, how much better could Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong be? The two of them were some distance behind Zhai Xingzi. When the dozens of Confucian cultivators rushed out, They were also some distance away from the two of them. Seeing the Confucian cultivator, who was at the upper 5th grade of essence force, appear in the light shadow, how could they dare to be careless? One by one, they activated their magic power and revealed their nascent soul avatar. Zhang Daoran opened his mouth, and a snowflake-shaped magic treasure rushed into the sky. This magic treasure was called drifting snow. He obtained it from Tsang Longzi's cave. After more than 200 years of sacrificial refining, it really made him like a tiger that had grown wings. When the magic treasure drifting snow landed in midair, the nearby space was immediately frozen. The ice shards that were as thin as hair were like wrinkles of time. In the blink of an eye, they covered 100 feet area. Moreover, with Zhang Daoran's activation, they quickly pounced on the Confucian cultivator who was not far away. Ka layers of inscriptions flew out at this time, and collided with the ice shards. There was a low sound of ice cracking. The space within 100 feet shook rapidly. It was like a battle between wind and snow. The space within 100 feet was dark. Huff in just a few breaths, thousands of small flames were born in the dark space. These flames were crimson in color. Among the crimson flames, strands of inscriptions jumped lively. In the core of each flame, there was a crimson heart shape that was slowly beating. Zhang Daoran, you're just Esoso. Opposite Zhang Daoran, the Confucian cultivator who held the Ming Lu chain laughed arrogantly. On his smiling face, crimson flames flashed in his eyes. Is that so? Zhang Daoran was not angry. He only responded faintly. Then he opened his mouth. A light blue crystal light as thick as a thumb fell into the drifting snow. The drifting snow let out a roar. Thousands of phantoms flew out from the drifting snow and quickly fell into the space within 1,000 feet. The heaven-earth origin energy within a dozen miles also turned into a hurricane and fell into the thousands of phantoms. Swish, swish, swish. The space within 1,000 feet emitted the sound of wind. Layers of light appeared out of thin air. Within the light, pieces of jade-like ice crystals condensed from the void. Under the cover of the ice crystals, not only was the Ming Lu chain frozen, even the crimson flames were frozen into ice flowers, unable to move. Even the brows of the old man in scholarly robes were quickly covered in a layer of frost. Not good. Seeing how powerful Zhang Daoran's magic treasure was, the Confucian cultivator was shocked. He hurriedly sent a voice transmission. Senior brother, come help me. Boom, everything had been planned. Before the Confucian cultivator's cry for help could be heard, the other Confucian cultivator raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. A 3-colored true energy soared into the sky and condensed into a 3-colored fire crow in the air. It flew toward Zhang Daoran's drifting snow. Wherever the fire crow went, the space was burned until it was distorted. The space frozen by the drifting snow was also instantly shattered. Damn it, Zhang Daoran cursed under his breath. He wanted to activate snowdrift again. Boom, the crimson flame that had just been suppressed by the ice moved again. Inch by inch, the space was burned by the flame until it collapsed. It quickly pounced towards Zhang Daoran. The fire crow that had broken through the seal earlier was even more unforgiving. It pounced out with flames to burn the Dharma treasure, snowdrift. Zhang Daoran was in an awkward situation where he was attacked from both sides. Sun Kong was not much stronger. His magic treasure, Howling Heaven, was a fist-shaped object. Howling Heaven's body was covered with holes of different sizes. Under the stimulation of magic power, not only did each hole emit a strange sound, but it could also produce wind blades comparable to flying swords. Where the wind blades landed, they cut the Ming Lu chain that was attacking Sun Kong into pieces. The strange sound had a soul-stirring effect. The two Confucian cultivators besieging Sun Kong used a secret technique, but the sound still penetrated their protective true energy and entered their bodies. Fall at this time, the two old Confucian cultivators besieging Sun Kong looked at each other and chanted incantations at the same time. They opened their mouths and 2 shining tokens flew into the air. The tokens were black and yellow in color. As soon as they fell into the air, they immediately produced many inscriptions. The inscriptions roared and an aura filled with the will of heaven and earth came out of the inscriptions and quickly shrouded the space around them. The inscriptions intertwined like tentacles, and the 2 talismans fell from the sky like mountains, as if they were going to suppress venerable Master Sun Kong. the Xianhuang token. Master Sun Kong was originally a bit puzzled, but when he saw the two talismans with the will of heaven and earth seal the space around him, the true essence around him showed signs of condensing under this will. He suddenly realized something and cried out in shock. Why are you all here? Sun Kong and the other three had been in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Like Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian, they were often attacked by demons. Although they had done enough homework to deal with demons and beasts, they had never thought that they would be attacked by Confucian cultivators in the Thousand Demons sacred realm, let alone that they were masters of the Xianhuang token. Haha, when the two old men saw that Sun Kong recognized the Xianhuang token, they laughed proudly and shouted, "How dare you! You actually cultivated to the 5th level of origin energy without permission from the Immortal Palace. Since you have violated the rules of the Immortal Palace, you will naturally be punished. Now that you are listed on the Xian ranking, not to mention the Thousand Demons sacred realm, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I, the Xianhuang token, will take your heads in accordance with the immortal law." Damn it, exalted Sun Kong roared furiously. At this moment, how could he not understand that the dark yellow token had surely obtained the news that Xiao Hua had been suppressed, and that was why it had intercepted and killed them on the way to Baiqingyu? Amidst his rage, Venerable Master Sun Kong raised his gaze, and saw that besides the 6 Confucian cultivators that were besieging them, there were almost 10 other Confucian cultivators that were similarly at the upper 5th grade of origin energy, that had already activated the chains of inscription to seal off an area of 50 kilometers around them. Once this seal was completed, not to mention the 4 of them, even if there were 4 more, it would still be impossible for them to escape from this seal. What should we do? Sun Kong was a little anxious for a moment. He thought of Xiao Hua, whom he had not seen for more than 200 years, and thought to himself, perhaps we only have a chance of survival if Daoist Xiao is here? After a moment, Sun Kong shook his head again. He knew very well that Xiao Hua had been suppressed by Baiqingyu's Demon King, so it was impossible for him to appear here. I'm afraid we can only rely on ourselves. Sun Kong gritted his teeth and waved his sleeve. The demon beast Chang'ing charged out from his Daoist robe. Boom, boom, boom. At this critical moment, a thunderous roar suddenly came from below them. 3 thumb-sized brilliant light spots appeared from the chains of inscription that had trapped Gusuqiodi first. The moment these light spots appeared, they immediately transformed into a vortex. Not only did all the light spots fall into it, but even the mighty pillars of energy that fell into the chains of inscription like raindrops also charged into it. The vortexes took shape in just a moment. They were like 3 full moons, and a cold light instantly covered an area of 3,000 meters. Then 3 soul-destroying auras shot out from the vortexes of light, instantly locking onto the 3 Confucian cultivators who were surrounding Zhai Xingzi, Zhang Daoran, and Sun Kong. Chapter 43-45. Shoot the moon bow? The 3 Confucian cultivators turned pale with fright. Although they didn't know what this aura was, that cold brilliance had already frozen their blood. They didn't dare to be careless and hurriedly activated their subbodies. The hands of the subbodies fell towards the light spots from 3 different directions, wanting to destroy them before the light spots could form. Whoosh, like the sound of a bow, the 3 vortexes of light were instantly annihilated. 3 light arrows condensed from the noble chi flew out from the vortexes. These light arrows were dark blue and contained thousands of crystal lights. The sparkling crystal lights revealed a powerful star power, and pierced straight into the 3 big hands. Wherever the light arrows passed, whether it was the Minglu chains or the noble chi pillars, they were all torn apart. The seal that trapped Gusuqiodi earlier had a huge opening now. Gusuqiodi, who was dressed in purple, revealed her valiant visage. That visage held a huge bow that was completely dark green in her hands. The light arrows were like lightning and instantly pierced into the hands of the 3 subbodies. The hands of the 3 upper 5th grade Confucian cultivators couldn't withstand a single blow and instantly collapsed. Following the collapse of the hands, the dazzling light arrows shot into the subbodies of the 3 Confucian cultivators at an angle. What was special was that the angles of the 3 light arrows were extremely tricky. They covered the sub-bodies of the 6 Confucian cultivators. Not good. The 3 sub-bodies of the 3 Confucian cultivators collapsed. As they screamed, they hurriedly dodged. The other 3 Confucian cultivators were also shocked. They couldn't care less about attacking the 3 Taoist cultivators, and also dodged. However, they were still a bit too slow. Although the light arrows didn't hit their vital points, the starlight was so bright that just by sweeping past the 6 sub-bodies, the sub-bodies condensed from noble qi immediately collapsed. The boundless power of the stars and moon wreaked havoc in the sub-bodies. When they had just dodged, Gusichiodi, who was sealed by the Minglu chains, turned into a ray of light and flew out. When she pulled Zhai Xingzi's hands, Zhai Xingzi shouted, "Let's go!" The 2 of them followed the 3 light arrows to the left and right as they charged toward the defensive formation that had yet to be completely sealed. Seeing the 2 of them move, Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong naturally did not hesitate. The 2 of them also roared. One of them urged drifting snow, while the other urged howling sky. They brought Changgung and teleported behind the light arrow. Gusuchiodi's counterattack was too sudden. The dozens of Xianhuang token cultivators who were trying to kill the 4 of them did not expect it at all. It was not until the 3 light arrows landed and tore apart the defense formation that these Xianhuang token cultivators came to their senses and hurriedly surrounded them. However, they were still too late. When the light arrow was destroyed, Zhai Xingzi and the others also disappeared outside the defensive formation. When they chased out of the defensive formation, they could only see the backs of the 4 people flying away in the purple sky. The Xianhuang token cultivator, who was flying at the front, snorted coldly as he watched the 4 of them fly further and further away. He sneered, "I didn't expect the little girl from the Gusu family to have the shoot the moon bow. This really caught me off guard. I was lucky to have let them escape today, but it won't be easy to ambush them in the future." My lord, the Xianhuang token cultivator, who was injured by the shoot the moon bow, slowly flew over. His face was filled with lingering fear as he whispered, "The shoot the moon bow is an ancient Taoist magic treasure. It's extremely powerful. Gusuchiran is only at the lower middle of the 5th level of origin energy, but she almost killed the 6 of us with it. I don't know if Gusuchiran got the shoot the moon bow herself, or if the Gusu family." The Xianhuang token cultivator at the front sneered and replied, "The Gusu family head is not strict with her subordinates. Her son actually colluded with the Taoist rebels. Gusuchiran is only a female cultivator at the 5th level of origin energy. How could she have the power to get the shoot the moon bow? This must be the Gusu family head's intention. Quickly report to the token master that the Gusu family head has ulterior motives. Please make a decision." "Yes." The Xianhuang token cultivator nodded fiercely. "This subordinate will report to the token master right away." The other Xianhuang token cultivators also flew over and asked, "My lord, should we still chase?" "Chase." The Xianhuang token cultivator leader answered without hesitation. "Our mission in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm is to kill these Taoist rebels who dare to break the rules of the Immortal Palace, and whose strength exceeds the limit, and don't go to the Peng Lai Immortal Realm. With Xiao Hua as bait, they will definitely take the bait. Even if we don't kill them today, as long as they rush to buy Qingyu, they will eventually fall into the hands of the Xianhuang token one day." "Yes," the Xianhuang token cultivators answered in unison. They each transformed into rainbows and chased in the direction of Zhai Xingzi and the others. In the wind behind them, layers of purple were still enchanting. Zhai Xingzi and the others naturally couldn't escape in one direction. After flying for a while and releasing their divine perception to investigate, they immediately turned around and flew in another direction. After another hour, Zhai Xingzi felt that the soft blade in his hand was extremely cold. He hurriedly looked around and landed in a forest of giant trees. Sun Kong Shangren and Zhang Daoran also landed. Before they could stabilize themselves, Zhang Daoran took out a formation map from his chest. As he rubbed his hands together, several rays of crystal light fell into the formation map. That formation map landed in the forest of giant trees. Thousands of thin ice strands extended out from the forest of giant trees, shooting straight into the air and enveloping an area of several kilometers. When the ice strands fell from the air, all of the ice strands disappeared. The forest of giant trees was still the same forest of giant trees, But Sun Kong, Shangren, and the others had disappeared. Qiu Zhai Xingzi ignored Zhang Daren's formation. Instead, he looked worriedly at Gusichiodi, whose body was trembling slightly and whose face was ashen. He asked worriedly, "Can you still hold on?" "I'm fine, Xingzi." As Gusichiodi spoke, several strands of frost appeared between her brows. This frost landed on Gusichiodi's beautiful brows, causing Zhai Xingzi's heart to ache. "Qiu, you're old." As Zhai Xingzi spoke, he lifted his hand to wipe away the frost. However, when his fingers touched the frost, an extremely cold aura immediately crashed into his fingers. A patch of starlight instantly appeared in his palm. Shooting Moon Bao, Zhai Xingzi wanted to say something, but he stopped himself just as the words reached his mouth. Zhai Xingzi Zhang Daoran, who had finished setting up the formation, flew over. He lifted his hand and took out a fiery red pill from his chest. He passed it to Zhai Xingzi and said, "This is the scarlet flame pill that I refined. Let Chiodi consume it first." "All right." Zhai Xingzi received the pill. As he looked at Gusichiodi, whose face was becoming increasingly cold, he forced a smile and said, "Qiu, or open your mouth." Yes, Gusichiodi's eyes were a little blurry. She opened her mouth with great difficulty. When Zhai Xingzi placed the medicinal pill into Gusichiodi's cherry mouth, a fiery red color visible to the naked eye instantly appeared on Gusichiodi's neck and spread in all directions. In an instant, the frost that had formed between her brows began to melt. "Zhai Xingzi, let me rest for a moment." Gusichiodi struggled to get up from Zhai Xingzi's embrace. How did she look like a level 5 Essence Energy Grandmaster? "All right." Zhai Xingzi hurriedly helped Gusichiodi sit down. When Gusichiodi opened her mouth, a stream of essence energy gushed out. It slowly floated in the air and landed on her forehead. Only then did Zhai Xingzi relax. He looked up at Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong not far away and flew over. I really didn't expect this." Before Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong could speak, Zhai Xingzi spoke first. The Immortal Palace actually extended their hands into the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm. Zhang Daoran looked at Sun Kong. The two seemed to have already discussed something via voice transmission. They had a tacit understanding and didn't speak. Zhai Xingzi bit his lips. He was also a little hesitant. He only said this one sentence and didn't say anything else. After 5 minutes of silence, Sun Kong looked at Gusichiodi in the distance and asked, "Immortal friend Gusu, how are your injuries?" "Since entering the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm, this is already the 3rd time I've forcefully drawn the Shoot the Moon Bao." Before Zhai Xingzi spoke, Zhang Daoran actually spoke. "The Shoot the Moon Bao is our Taoism's primordial magic treasure. Without a matching heart sutra and activation technique, forcefully drawing the bao will injure the heart meridian. Although immortal friend Gusu is a level 5 essence energy grandmaster, she cultivates the essence energy of Confucian cultivators, and not the meridians of our Taoism. Now, I'm afraid her heart meridian has already been injured. This old man has already treated saving Xiaohua as an impossible mission." Sun Kong glanced at Zhai Xingzi, whose expression changed slightly, and sighed. "But I still didn't expect that saving Xiaohua would be so complicated. Although we don't understand why Xiaohua was suppressed in Bai Qingyu, the general reason is that he offended the Demon King. If we rush to that place, we might be able to persuade the demons, or we might be able to use force to rescue Xiaohua." Zhang Daoran said meaningfully. "But the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm is so dangerous. Even with our level 5 essence energy cultivation, we still encountered danger several times. If not for immortal friend Gusu risking her life to activate the Shoot the Moon Bao 3 times, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to reach this place. And this place is still very far from Bai Qingyu. It's not just the distance." Sun Kong continued. "The situation is also complicated. Perhaps Xiaohua being suppressed by Bai Qingyu's Demon King isn't as simple as we thought. Let's not talk about why Xiaohua was suppressed by Bai Qingyu's Demon King. Just by looking at the Xianhuang token lying in ambush here, we can see that they're planning to eliminate us in one fell swoop." Zhai Xingzi finally spoke. "Presumably, the Immortal Palace already knows about our relationship with Xiaohua. Since they couldn't find any traces of us in the hidden Immortal Continent, they might as well set up an ambush in the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm. Moreover, according to what I know, The three of us aren't the only ones who have an extremely good relationship with Xiaohua. Back then, there were many who received Xiaohua's favor on Yaotai Mountain. The Xianhuang token must have also sent many Xianhuang token Confucian cultivators to intercept and kill those nascent soul cultivators, right? With the Immortal Palace taking action, Sun Kong looked at Zhai Xingzi and said very seriously, "Our trip to the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm isn't as simple as saving Xiaohua. Therefore, Daoist Zhai Xingzi, it's inconvenient for you to bring immortal friend Gusu along, right?" Chapter 43-46. In my opinion, since Lady Gusu is already injured, why don't you bring her back temporarily? Or find a secret place? Zhang Daoran took the opportunity to persuade him. Unfortunately, before Zhang Daoran could finish, Zhai Xingzi cut him off. "No. That's impossible. Sai, why do you have to do this?" Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong sighed at the same time. Evidently, they weren't surprised by Zhai Xingzi's answer. "Xiaohua has saved this old man's life, no, all of us," Zhai Xingzi replied calmly. "Furthermore, if it weren't for Xiaohua, we wouldn't have been able to enter Tsang Longzi's cave abode, and we wouldn't have been able to enter the out-of-aperture stage so easily. In fact, all of this is secondary in my heart. What I value is Xiaohua's trust in me. It's undeniable that Xiaohua is the most important reason why the three of us can be so close to each other. If not for Xiaohua's unwillingness, the four of us would have become sworn brothers long ago. Although we haven't become sworn brothers, in my eyes, the two of you and him are already my brothers. I'm willing to sacrifice my life for all of you." Zhai Xingzi turned to look at Gusichiodi, who was recuperating, and said, "There's a saying in the secular world. Brothers are like limbs, while women are like clothes. Xiaoer is my lover, so I can't really treat her like clothes and throw her away. However, to save Xiaohua, I'm willing to follow the two of you to Baiqingyu." Gusichiodi's cold voice sounded. "Who dares to leave me here?" Xiao, or a hint of awkwardness appeared on Zhai Xingzi's face. However, he still said resolutely, "Your injuries have worsened. It's really not suitable for you to head to Baiqingyu. You should rest here. After we save Xiaohua bullshit." Gusichiodi had already finished recuperating. She floated up and looked at Zhai Xingzi with bright eyes. "Xingzi, do you remember what we said on Heartbreak Mountain?" Zhai Xingzi's gaze was a little distant, as if he didn't dare to look into Gusichiodi's eyes. "You know that it's a dead end. Why did you go and leave me alone in this world? You clearly know that after you leave, you won't be able to come back. Why do you have to leave me with loneliness? How can I live without you?" Gusuchiodi said word by word. "When we left Broken Heart Mountain, we promised to live and die together, never to be separated again. Have you forgotten? Xingzi, do you know why I pulled the Shoot the Moon bow without hesitation? Do you know why I'm not afraid of the backlash from the Shoot the Moon bow? Because ever since I stepped into the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm with you, I never planned to return alive." Zhai Xingzi sighed. He couldn't say anything. He reached out and hugged Gusuchiodi. Only the warmth in his arms answered Gusuchiodi's question. Sun Kong and Zhang Daoran glanced at each other before they tactfully moved to one side. After a while, Zhai Xingzi opened his mouth and said, "Xiaoer, it's been hard on you." There's nothing to be sad about." Gusuchiodi smiled and said, "Xiaohua can be considered our matchmaker. Back then, I wanted to be a matchmaker to return this favor. However, that little girl Exian doesn't know what's good for her. There's nothing I can do. Today, I'll return my life to this brat." At this moment, Xiaohua naturally didn't know that Gusuchiodi and the others were going to return their lives to him. He leisurely flew behind Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian with an arrogant expression. Xiaohua, a python dragon with a noble bloodline, was acting very well. In his eyes, there was only Ao Zhantian, a descendant of the dragon race. Of course, there was also a trace of disdain in his eyes. This was because Ao Zhantian wasn't a descendant of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, nor was he a descendant of the Dragon Island. As for Shui Mingzi, Su Tingzi, and the others, this python dragon Xiaohua didn't even look at them. It was as if looking at them would lower his status. Su Tingzi and the others were also filled with disdain when Xiaohua treated them like this. What was the difference between this and those despicable humans who tried to curry favor with the powerful? Su Tingzi and the others had seen a lot of this. However, Su Tingzi and the others couldn't help but admire this arrogant python dragon. Ever since they met Xiaohua, Su Tingzi and the others didn't even need to make a move against ordinary demonic beasts. This python dragon flew in front of them and raised its head, releasing a ferocious aura. All the demonic beasts in front of them would be scared witless. Even if they met some troublesome demonic beasts, Ao Zhantian, Shui Mingzi, and the other great grandmasters of the 5th level of origin energy couldn't deal with them. This python dragon with a powerful demonic body didn't use any special abilities and only released its original form. Its huge python body covered the sky as it smashed down. Most of the demonic beasts would be smashed into pieces, and they would also be scared witless. Of course, if they really met an incomparably powerful opponent, the python dragon Xiaohua transformed into wouldn't care about the life and death of Ao Zhantian, Shui Mingzi and the others. It would escape without a trace. However, the strange thing was that every time Ao Zhantian, Shui Mingzi, and the others were about to be killed by the demon race, there would always be a mysterious demon race that would appear out of nowhere and break the deadlock that they were about to face. Moreover, these strange demonic beasts came in all shapes and sizes. Even Shui Mingzi had never heard of many of them. What left the deepest impression on Shui Mingzi was that once when they passed by a swamp, they saw an overwhelming number of man-eating demonic beasts surrounding them. Although Ao Zhantian's magic treasure was powerful and killed many of the demonic beasts, there seemed to be an endless stream of demonic beasts in the swamp. At that time, even the most vigilant python dragon didn't manage to escape in advance. Just as everyone was about to be killed, the nemesis of the demonic beasts suddenly appeared in the swamp. It was a type of vine that Shui Mingzi had never seen before. This vine was even more powerful than a 7th-level origin energy demonic beast. Wherever it went, the demonic beasts would collapse. In just half a cup of tea's time, the entire swamp was occupied by the vines. The vines that occupied the swamp seemed to be tired and didn't pay any attention to Shui Mingzi and the others. Xiaohua transformed into a python dragon and fled first. Only then did Shui Mingzi and the others come to their senses and hurriedly escape from the danger zone. That vine was naturally the sky-soaring vine that Xiaohua released. The other demonic beasts were also released by Xiaohua from the Shenhua continent. Under Xiaohua's disguise, no one discovered anything strange. While everyone looked down on Xiaohua, they made use of Xiaohua and then went to rescue Xiaohua. However, what puzzled Ao Zhantian and worried Shui Mingzi was that after encountering the gathering moth beast that night, Xian Ping, who had lost his physical body, disappeared without a trace. Regardless of whether everyone waited at the agreed location or Ao Zhantian used a secret technique to investigate, there was no news at all. The danger that followed made everyone realize how dangerous the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm was. Everyone thought that Xian Ping's nascent soul had been swallowed by the demonic beasts or demonic beasts. In fact, not to mention Ao Zhantian and the others, even Xiaohua himself thought that Xian Ping's nascent soul had disappeared from this world. That day, when Xiaohua saw that everyone was in an emergency, Xian Ping's nascent soul teleported and immediately flew to the Illumination Mountain Range to rescue them. He also sent the Black Bear, White Lion, and Golden Eagle to search for Xian Ping's nascent soul. However, the 3 demonic beasts reported that they couldn't find the whereabouts of Xian Ping's nascent soul. Xiaohua had no choice but to let the 3 demonic beasts continue to search nearby and send him messages every day. On this day, Xiaohua was flying behind a group of Dao sect cultivators, and he was admiring himself as he utilized the Buddhist sect's heavenly vision divine ability to inquire about the situation of the past few days. Suddenly, a very familiar voice sounded out by his ears. "Fellow Taoist Ao, I have something to discuss with fellow Taoist. I wonder if fellow Taoist is willing?" Oh. The other voice naturally belonged to Ao Zhantian. Ao Zhantian's voice was filled with surprise as he transmitted his voice. "Fellow Taoist Shui, if you have something to say, please speak." "Right now we're in the same boat. There's nothing we can't discuss." Xiaohua was taken aback. He raised his head and looked into the distance. Ao Zhantian and Shui Mingzi were flying in front of everyone, while Shui Mingzi was flying behind them. Ao Zhantian's figure clearly paused for a moment, and he looked back in confusion. He even asked, "Could it be that there are some demonic beasts ahead that we can't handle?" Xiaohua's heart warmed slightly. Just as he was about to retract his divine ability and not listen to their private conversation, Shui Mingzi hesitated for a moment and replied, "No, it's just that I want to ask your opinion on Black Wind Mountain." Ah? When Xiaohua heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. He had been vigilant before, but when he saw Ao Zhantian, Shui Mingzi, and the others risking their lives to head to Baiqingyu to save him these days, his vigilance had already mostly dissipated. But who would have thought that one may know a person's face but not his heart? Shui Mingzi had actually never extinguished his little bit of selfishness. Xiaohua ordered the black bear and the others to go far away and search for Xian Ping's nascent soul. Meanwhile, he used his heavenly vision divine ability to eavesdrop on the two's voice transmission. However, he was extremely surprised when he heard Ao Zhantian's voice transmission. Black Wind Mountain? What does fellow Taoist Shui mean? Wasn't Black Wind Mountain besieged by the Immortal Palace a long time ago? Shui Mingzi replied. Fellow Taoist Ao, you know very well that with Xiaohua's methods, how could he give up the huge Black Wind Mountain so easily? How could he allow the disciples of Black Wind Mountain to die under the encirclement of the Immortal Palace? Oh, this old man understands now. Fellow Taoist Shui is talking about Taoist Zhao's disciples. Ao Zhantian's voice became even calmer as he said indifferently, I thought you were talking about Black Wind Mountain. Shui Mingzi didn't get angry and continued to ask, Fellow Taoist Ao, what do you think of Xiaohua's disciples? Ao Zhantian was puzzled again and replied, Fellow Taoist Shui, what do you mean by this? Those disciples belong to Taoist Xiao. What do they have to do with this old man? What can this old man think of them? Shui Mingzi chuckled and said, Fellow Taoist Ao, since we're here and have experienced life and death together, this old man will be frank with you. This old man doesn't believe that. You're here purely to save Xiaohua. Chapter 43-47. Ao Zhantian turned his head slightly and glanced at Shui Mingzi from the corner of his eyes. A strange expression appeared on his face as he transmitted his voice. So you didn't come to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm purely to save Xiaohua and Tao Master Xiao, right? Of course I wanted to save Xiaohua from the start. When he spoke up to hear, Shui Mingzi didn't conceal it any longer and explained. But right when I contacted all the fellow Taoists on Hidden Immortal Continent, I noticed to my shock that there were truly many cultivators that received grace from Xiaohua on Jade Mountain all those years ago. Ao Zhantian frowned. Wouldn't it be better if there were more cultivators who received Tao Master Xiao's grace? Why didn't you contact them? We can save Tao Master Xiao together. Shui Mingzi smiled bitterly and said, Fellow Taoist Ao, although we were saved by Xiaohua that day, we were forced by Taoist Xiao to swear a blood oath of loyalty. Xiaohua's scheme is not small. I heard about Tao Master Xiao's blood oath, and went to the Bronze Pillar Nation. I don't know why, but the blood steel is still there. No Confucian cultivators dared to overturn the blood steel. Ao Zhantian said meaningfully. If that's Tao Master Xiao's plan, I'm willing to do it even though I was forced. That day was that day. What about now? Does fellow Taoist Ao still think so? Shui Mingzi looked at Ao Zhantian and transmitted his voice with a smile. Xiaohua is being suppressed right now. There are many Taoist cultivators on the Hidden Immortal Continent who received his grace. This is not a small force. Did fellow Taoist Ao notice something special? Ever since the Black Wind Mountain was destroyed by the Immortal Palace, Xiaohua's disciples have never appeared on the Hidden Immortal Continent. Even when the news of Xiaohua being suppressed by Baiqingyu spread, I didn't see any movements from the disciples of the Black Wind Mountain. Don't you think it's a little strange? Ao Zhantian smiled faintly and looked into the distance. After thinking for a while he replied, I understand what fellow Taoist Shui means. Not to mention the number of disciples of the Black Wind Mountain. And not to mention the strength of these disciples. Xiaohua's trip to the Yaotai Mountain, and the Taoist cultivators he won over is a force that no one can ignore. This time, fellow Taoist Shui went to Baiqingyu to save Taoist Master Xiao. You plan to get a share of the loot, right? At this point, Ao Zhantian revealed the truth of the matter to Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi only chuckled and didn't say anything. Then how does fellow Water Dao friend intend to get a share of the benefits from Xiaohua? Ao Zhantian decided to get to the bottom of the matter. Shui Mingzi didn't answer. Instead he asked, could it be that fellow Daoist Ao doesn't think so? Ao Zhantian didn't answer Shui Mingzi's question. Instead, he sent a telepathic message to Shui Mingzi. There are only two ways to reap benefits. The first is to rescue Xiaohua, discuss with Xiaohua, or cooperate with him, or ask him to give up a part of his power. The second. At this point, Ao Zhantian's eyelids twitched. He glanced at Shui Mingzi and said, kill Xiaohua directly. A dead Xiaohua was definitely more valuable than a living Xiaohua. Fellow Daoists can borrow Xiaohua's dying wish. Oh, or you can take Xiaohua's keepsake and take control of the Black Wind Ridge's power. That Black Wind Ridge disciple hasn't appeared for several hundred years. He must be hiding somewhere in the hidden immortal continent. After taking control of this power, you can use this power to cooperate with the Daoist cultivators who have received Xiaohua's favor. Fellow Daoist, the benefits you'll obtain will be much greater than rescuing Xiaohua. Fellow Daoist Shui, don't you think so? Shui Mingzi smiled and sent a telepathic message. Fellow Daoist Ao is really good at thinking. It's really a pity that you didn't write a book. If this old man had second thoughts, why would I go through so much trouble to go to Biqingyu with fellow Daoist? Biqingyu's Demon King is suppressing Xiaohua, and will kill him sooner or later. Wouldn't it be better for this old man to act after he kills Xiaohua? Oh, fellow Daoist is thinking of the first option? A faint smile appeared on Ao Zhantian's face again. That's right. Shui Mingzi nodded. This old man did have this idea. And now, this old man wants to discuss it with fellow Daoist. Huh? So you're saying that fellow Daoist is confident in rescuing Xiaohua? Ao Zhantian was a little surprised. I can't say that I'm confident, but I have some ideas. Shui Mingzi explained. When this old man was at the Black Wind Mountain, I once invited fellow Daoist. Oh, I remember now. You've told me about it before. You're on good terms with a great demon of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Ao Zhantian replied in realization. Indeed. Shui Mingzi nodded. To be honest, this old man is similar to fellow Daoist Ao. I also have the bloodline of the demon race. This bloodline comes from the ancient Bell Mountain of the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. This old man understands. Ao Zhantian nodded vigorously. Fellow Daoist Shui, you can use the influence of the ancient Bell Mountain's Demon King to rescue Xiaohua. Demon King? Shui Mingzi smiled bitterly and sent a telepathic message. Fellow Daoist Ao thinks too highly of me. How could I possibly have a relationship with a Demon King? I'm just on good terms with a great demon under the Demon King's command. Moreover, I don't know what the relationship between the ancient Bell Mountain and Biqingyu is like. I don't know if the ancient Bell Mountain can help in this matter. In particular, even if I'm on good terms with that great demon, the ancient Bell Mountain can still influence Biqingyu. I can't just ask the great demon to help me, right? I understand. Ao Zhantian nodded again. Fellow Daoist Shui, are you planning to use Xiaohua's power as a bargaining chip to negotiate with the great demon of the ancient Bell Mountain, so that the ancient Bell Mountain can help you? Yes. That's what I'm really thinking. Shui Mingzi replied. I was just testing you. I'm ashamed. Ao Zhantian narrowed his eyes and revealed a disdainful smile. The two of them had been testing each other in such a roundabout way for so long. How could he believe that this was Shui Mingzi's original intention? He didn't hide his suspicions and sent a telepathic message. If fellow Daoist Shui is so considerate of Xiaohua, then there's no need for us to send a telepathic message, right? We just need to discuss this matter with the other fellow Daoists. Shui Mingzi smiled mysteriously again and replied. This is indeed my original intention. However, after seeing how difficult it is to enter the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, and how much we've sacrificed, I had another idea. Isn't that why I'm discussing this with fellow Daoist Ao right now? Right now, you and I are both at the 5th stage of the Origin Energy Realm, and have the qualifications to take over the power behind Xiaohua. If we work together, our chances will be greater. Greater? Ao Zhantian was a little confused. Who has the strength to surpass us? I don't know, Shui Mingzi replied. However, I feel that we might not be the only ones who came to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to save Xiaohua. If other cultivators also want to come and take advantage of us, we have to be on guard. On guard? Ao Zhantian frowned and said with a smile. If that's the case, then fellow Taoist Shui should be on guard against me first, right? Ha ha ha, Shui Mingzi laughed heartily. If I were to be on guard against you, why would I need to be so honest with you? You and I have experienced life and death together on the Yaotai Mountain. When I came to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, I also invited you to come with me. If I can't trust you, then who can I trust? Upon hearing this, Ao Zhantian opened his mouth as if he wanted to ask something. However, he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. His gaze swept across the dozen or so nascent soul cultivators to his left. Although he could see that these cultivators all had similar expressions of nervousness, he believed that Shui Mingzi must have had something to rely on. Perhaps some of these nascent soul cultivators had already been convinced by him. With that in mind, Ao Zhantian's heart suddenly jolted as he recalled the time when Xianping's body was destroyed by the moth-gathering beast in front of Yizhao Ridge. He had shouted, "Shui Mingzi, hurry and save me." At that time, Ao Zhantian didn't pay much attention to Xianping's disrespectful words. He only thought that Xianping was panicking and was being rude. However, now that he thought about it, Shui Mingzi must have already made some sort of deal with Xianping. Ao Zhantian pondered for a moment before replying, "Fellow Taoist Shui, I thank you for your trust in me. However, I am a descendant of the dragon tribe, and have some influence on the hidden immortal continent. Taoist Xiao and the other disciples of the Black Wind Mountain are nothing in my eyes. I won't hide it from you, fellow Taoist. I came to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to save Taoist Xiao. Of course, I have to pay a price to save Taoist Xiao. I hope that Taoist Xiao will allow me to retract the blood oath I swore for 1,000 years. So that's how it is, Shui Mingzi muttered doubtfully. Fellow Taoist Shui, I don't care what you think or what you do. However, Xiaohua is my savior, so I don't want you to lay your hands on Xiaohua. As for the deal between you and Xiaohua, I'm not interested in it either." Ao Zhantian seemed to have made up his mind a long time ago as he finally spoke his mind. Of course, if fellow Taoist Shui has any plans that require my help, I won't refuse. Good. Shui Mingzi appeared to be very happy as he nodded. I'm very happy that fellow Taoist Ao has such thoughts. Let's sign the contract now. All right. Ao Zhantian agreed. Let's sign the contract now. Shui Mingzi and Ao Zhantian had made their intentions clear. Shui Mingzi's expression was clearly relaxed while Ao Zhantian's heart was heavy. Compared to Ao Zhantian, Xiaohua's heart was even heavier. He truly didn't expect that this group of people would all have ulterior motives. If he hadn't transformed into a python dragon, how could he have known what they were thinking? When Xiaohua had first transformed into a python dragon, he had felt that his recent actions were unnecessary. Now, however, he felt incomparably fortunate. It was the kind of joy that came from being able to see the situation clearly as a bystander. I want to see what kind of tricks you guys have up your sleeves. Xiaohua thought coldly as he narrowed his eyes. He didn't retract his heavenly eye divine ability. Chapter 43-48. At this moment, Ao Zhantian's heart was a little heavy. He felt that Shui Mingzi's actions were a little unjust, but he soon felt relieved. After all, everyone's thoughts were different. Shui Mingzi didn't have Ao Zhantian's experience on Dragon Island, so Ao Zhantian couldn't force Shui Mingzi to be grateful to Xiaohua, nor could he force Shui Mingzi to save Xiaohua like he did. However, after flying for the time it took to brew a cup of tea, they saw a large lake in front of them. The water of the lake was as clear as crystal, and Ao Zhantian was just about to ask Shui Mingzi when his heart suddenly trembled. An indescribable feeling of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. Oh no, this is bad. Shui Mingzi just said that he has the bloodline of the Ancient Bell Mountain's demon race, and he has a good relationship with the Ancient Bell Mountain's great demon race. With his relationship with the Ancient Bell Mountain, although Shui Mingzi can't say that he can do whatever he wants in the Thousand Beasts sacred realm, at least he won't be attacked by the demon race everywhere he goes, right? Moreover, If Shui Mingzi wanted to cooperate with a certain clan, why didn't he say anything earlier? Why did he wait until now? Could it be that Shui Mingzi's initial plan was not like this? Then what was his initial plan? Roar. Just as Ao Zhantian had expected, a furious roar erupted from the depths of the pond. A pillar of water shot up into the sky, and an aquatic beast over 100 feet in length stepped on the surface of the water and made its way over. Its ferocious aura had already enveloped the area within a few kilometers. Fellow immortal Ao Zhantian turned his head and urged Xiao Hua, who had transformed into a python, to hurry up. However, when he saw the aquatic beast flying over, the python lazily glanced at it with a disinterested expression, completely ignoring Ao Zhantian. Helpless, Ao Zhantian could only wave his hand and say, "Fellow Taoists, let's kill our way over." Not to mention that Xiao Hua, who transformed into a python, was hurt by the secret plans of the group of cultivators and had the intention of slacking off. The distance from the pool was more than 10 million li. This place was filled with swamps and towering peaks. Demonic clouds covered the low sky. It was the scorching noon sun, and the sunlight proudly spilled over the earth. However, the sunlight was unable to penetrate the demonic clouds and shine on the swamps. Even though sunlight couldn't penetrate the clouds, the water and mountains under the demonic clouds were filled with 5 colors. The 5-colored halo was like a person's essence, chi, and spirit. It was hidden in the mountains and rivers, nourishing them. Although one couldn't see much with the naked eye, one would always feel that the mountains and rivers here were different from other places. Not only were the mountains and rivers different, but the demon clan and demon beasts that appeared in this area were also different from other places. From time to time, waves would rise in the water. The thin splashes of the water revealed a faint 5-colored light. Under the splashes of the water, shellfish of all sizes would occasionally reveal themselves. Whether it was the small shellfish that were only a few feet long or the big shellfish that were more than 100 feet long, these shellfish had some strange talismans engraved on their shells. The talismans themselves did not have any luster, but under the light of the water, they revealed 5 colors. Some of the colors even formed a halo in midair, hanging there for a long time, like rainbows after rain. Between the mountains, there would occasionally be some water clan members holding weapons and moving in groups. Most of these water clan members were shellfish. From time to time, the flapping seashells would shine a colorful light onto the mountain peak, making the mountain peak look even taller and more upright. At this moment, buzz in the distant sky, a rainbow appeared, but in a moment, it landed on one of the mountain peaks. After the rainbow faded, a beautiful female cultivator was revealed. It was Fairy Jing, who had died after drinking the forgotten love water on Broken Heart Mountain. As soon as Fairy Jing landed on the mountain, there was a 5-colored demonic light that clashed with each other. The demonic light rushed out of the mountain about 100 feet to the left of Fairy Jing, and turned into hundreds of oval-shaped halos that enveloped Fairy Jing. Wherever the halos landed, the energy of the world was isolated and the space was restricted. Even the sunlight and the water were blocked. It looked very strange and powerful. Seeing this, Fairy Jing wasn't in a hurry. The 3-colored light around her flashed, and a heart shell appeared out of thin air. This heart shell was different from the one she gave to Xiao Hua. Not only was the heart shell several times larger, but there were also many more lines on the heart shell. What was special was that the tricolored light of the lines shrank and contracted slightly. It gave off a feeling that made one's heart tremble. It was as if it was a voice or a gaze that made one involuntarily intoxicated. After Xian Bei was taken out, the tricolored light suddenly swelled in all directions and landed within the 5-colored demonic light. The 5-colored demonic light paused in midair, but the tricolored light did not stop. It continued to spread in all directions. When the light had swelled by over 100 feet, the 5-colored demonic light shattered with a bang. While most of the demonic light entered the mountain rocks, a small portion of the demonic light turned into a fist-sized banner that charged into the swamp below the mountain peak. The demonic light fell into the lake, and there was another loud bang. A pillar of water rushed out from the bottom of the lake, and more than a dozen demons came out with weapons in their hands. "Who are you? Are you the king's descendant?" The patrolling demons saw that Fairy Jing was a human, and was standing on the mountain peak safe and sound. Although they didn't see the heart shell, they knew that she was the descendant of Demon King Bai Qingyu. Although their tone was very serious, there was a hint of intimacy in their tone. I am Li Jing. Fairy Jing smiled and didn't bow. She raised her hand and took out a beast's skin from her chest and answered proudly. Today, I came back to the mountain under the king's order to kowtow. Please report to me, patrolling mountain. The king's order? The leader was shocked and looked at Fairy Jing in disbelief. A large hand reached out from the shell and said respectfully, Please show me the king's order, Fairy. Oh. Fairy Jing was also puzzled. As she handed the beast skin to the patrolling demon, she said curiously, Normally, when I return to the mountain, even my token won't be carefully checked, let alone the king's order. What's going on today? Could it be that Bai Qingyu has undergone some changes? The mountain patrolling envoy took the beast skin and used his yuan will to probe it. He saw that the 5-colored demonic light on the beast's skin was like 5 colored lines that interweaved in an orderly manner within the beast's skin. Waves of auras that he was familiar with seeped out from the runes on the beast's skin. The mountain patrolling envoy knew that Fairy Jing was right, so he returned the beast's skin to her. Then he answered with a smile. What can happen to me, Bai Qingyu? Not to mention the demons of the 1,000 demon sacred realm. Even the Confucian cultivators of the hidden immortal continent, and the Buddhas of the Western paradise wouldn't dare to find trouble with me. Right? Fairy Jing took the beast's skin and said with a smile. Then is there a joyous occasion in the mountain? Hee, it's not really a joyous occasion. It's just a banquet. The patrolling demon said without a care. Banquet? Fairy Jing was even more puzzled. What kind of event is that? PFFF. Just as Fairy Jing asked that, she heard a series of muffled thunder in the sky. A flying imperial artifact that looked like a flower basket appeared between the clouds. Behind that flying imperial artifact, several demons spread their wings and controlled their demonic clouds to follow behind it. Damn it, the patrolling demon who was talking to Fairy Jing cursed and ordered. How can we let them rush here? Quick, capture them first. Yes, the demons behind the patrolling demon hurriedly responded. Their bodies glowed with 5-colored radiance, and they immediately turned into rainbows and shot into the sky. These demons didn't directly attack the enemy. Instead, they opened their mouths and took out several colorful flags. When the flags were waved, thunderous sounds could be heard. Woo, a gust of wind suddenly rose, and hundreds of demonic auras shot into the sky from the left side of the mountain. Dozens of demons at the Enlightenment Star and Moon-picking realm emerged from the demonic auras. They all laughed maliciously and charged toward the flying imperial artifact. When the flying magic tool arrived here, it seemed to be trapped by the demonic formation's forbidden array and could no longer fly. When the flower basket opened, hundreds of flowers bloomed. Dozens of Aurus core and nascent soul human cultivators flew out from the basket. When these cultivators saw that there were pursuers behind them and demons in front of them, they did not say a word. Each of them channeled their magic power, and all kinds of magic treasures fell down to attack the demons that surrounded them. The patrolling demon was originally a bit nervous, but when he saw that the magic treasures of these human cultivators had dimmed, and that there were limited signs of the heaven-earth origin chi around them, he couldn't help but feel his nervousness gradually dissipate. He coldly snorted and said, These ants actually dare to participate in the banquet. Fairy Jing was puzzled, but when she saw the humans fighting against the demons, she didn't dare to ask too much. She only focused on watching. Just as the mountain patroller had expected, the several dozens of human cultivators were no match for the demons. In the blink of an eye, apart from a few nascent soul cultivators who were wounded by the demons, the rest of the human cultivators were trapped and captured by over 100 demons using their demonic formations. When the pursuing demons spread their wings and whizzed away, the demons who had captured the human cultivators rushed into the swamp. Fairy Jing said, Mountain Patrol Envoy, what's going on here? I don't understand. Although Bai Qingyu doesn't dare to say that this is the largest demon realm in the 1,000 demons sacred realm, it still covers millions of miles of territory. If I didn't have a heart, I wouldn't have come here. These human cultivators are clearly Taoist disciples. How could they fly here? And from the looks of it, they seem to want to attack Bai Qingyu? The patrolling demon glanced at Fairy Jing impatiently, and was about to casually brush her off with a few words. But suddenly he thought of the 5-colored beast skin in Fairy Jing's hands. His heart jumped and he hurriedly said, "Fairy, you haven't returned to Bai Qingyu for a long time, right?" "Yes, indeed." Fairy Jing nodded and said, "After I met the Demon King, I went out to sea to train. Counting now, it's probably been close to 200 years. Meeting the Demon King." Hearing Fairy Jing's words, the patrolling demon secretly stuck out his tongue, glad that he hadn't been negligent. He hurriedly nodded and said, "No wonder. Fairy Jing, you might not know, but recently, Bai Qingyu, have had a major event. It's the banquet I mentioned to you earlier." Chapter 43-49. Seeing that Fairy Jing didn't understand, the mountain patrol envoy continued, "I don't know what the Qing banquet is all about. However, because of the Qing banquet, I obtained the Demon King's token, which allows me to relax my vigilance within Bai Qingyu's territory. Regardless of whether they are here to participate in the Qing banquet or not, they will be allowed to enter the depths of the demon territory. However, the Demon King's token also clearly states that the area within 10,000 miles of the Demon King's cave is a forbidden area. Humans aren't allowed to enter. Just now. Maybe it's because the flying artifacts of the humans here are too powerful that they managed to sneak in?" It would have been fine if the mountain patrolling envoy didn't explain, but after hearing this, Fairy Jing was even more confused. She asked in surprise, "You're saying these dozens of human cultivators are here for the banquet?" "Yes. They are here to participate in the banquet." The mountain patroller nodded, and said with a serious expression. Fairy Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She pointed at the flying artifacts that had just been dragged into the swamp and said, "They waved their artifacts like this and came to the banquet in such an aggressive manner? And this is how you captured them to treat the guests?" Speaking of this, Fairy Jing's heart suddenly jolted. Her expression became thoughtful as if she had understood something. Sure enough, the mountain patrolling envoy said proudly, "Fairy Jing, you don't know, but my king said that who said the banquet must invite guests? My banquet invites delicacies." "Sigh, I understand now." Fairy Jing waved her hand. "This idea must have been given to my king by the Demon King of Ancient Bell Mountain, right?" The mountain patrolling envoy was shocked. His tentacle extended a thumb, and the respect on his face increased. "Fairy Jing, you're indeed a human, and you're indeed of my king's bloodline. I'm impressed. My king just sent out a message saying that the Demon King of Ancient Bell Mountain might come today, and he wants us to be careful." "Forget it." Fairy Jing's face showed a hint of arrogance. She waved her hand and said, "I'll go greet my king now." "Fairy Jing, please." The mountain patrolling envoy respectfully bowed. He watched as a cloud appeared under Fairy Jing's feet, and carried her into the depths of the swamp. Envy appeared on his face, and he muttered to himself, "Humans are humans indeed. I can't compare to her brain. I only said one sentence, and she understood so much. No wonder she's favored by my king." Fairy Jing controlled the cloud to slowly fly toward a direction. There weren't too many mountain patrolling beasts along the way. However, every time she flew over a mountain or swamp, a powerful sense of origin cheese tea scents would sweep over her. Fairy Jing turned a deaf ear to all of this. Even when she looked at the scenery she hadn't seen in over 200 years, the dense confusion in her eyes didn't dissipate at all. After flying for less than an hour, there were fewer and fewer demons to the left. The scenery became more and more dangerous. On the mountains and in the swamps, there would often be strange lights that would fly out. They would either sweep across Fairy Jing or block her path. Fairy Jing had no choice but to use her heart shell to protect herself. Whenever the tricolored light of the heart shell came into contact with the rainbow would vanish. "Stop." Just as Fairy Jing was lost in thought, a bell-like voice rang out from the swamp. "Oh!" Fairy Jing was startled, and involuntarily stopped in the air. Below Fairy Jing, a reef over 10,000 feet in size suddenly moved. With the sound of water, the reef flew out of the water. Layers of demonic clouds appeared on the surface of the reef. After the green light flashed through the demonic clouds, a water creature several thousand feet in size blocked Fairy Jing's path. Fairy Jing smiled and bowed. "General Shishui, I'm Li Jing. I've come to greet you on the orders of my king. Li Jing? That water creature's head was very big, but his eyes were very small. After blinking a few times, he seemed to remember something, and said with a silly smile, "Oh, this old man remembers. You are that little girl who established a country in the hidden immortal continent. You came here 400 years ago. Hee, it was 200 years ago." Fairy Jing seemed to have a good impression of General Shi Shui. She smiled and replied, "Old man, you must be sleepy." "Haha, 400 years is about the same as 200 years." General Shi Shui smiled and slowly fell back into the water. He said, "Little girl, you know that this old man likes to sleep, but you still haven't taken out the king's Demon King token. Aren't you disturbing this old man's sleep?" Yes, it's my fault." Fairy Jing covered her mouth and smiled. She quickly took out the 5-colored beast skin. The beast skin immediately gave off a hazy light that covered Fairy Jing. Seeing the 5-colored beast skin, General Shi Shui's body fell into the swamp and turned back into a huge reef. Fairy Jing looked up at the huge island 100 miles away. She took a deep breath and flew over. As they approached the island, the scenery on the island entered Fairy Jing's eyes. There were palaces all over the island. These palaces were dazzling with extraordinary auras. Outside each palace, there were water creatures in colorful clothes. They were either carefully walking or holding their breaths while standing respectfully. Powerful auras rushed out of each palace without any concealment. This was indeed the palace of a demon king. Fairy Jing flew to the front of the island, but she wasn't in a hurry to enter. Instead, she raised her hand and pointed at her heart shell. The heart shell was like a bright star that flashed with brilliance. She then pointed at the 5-colored beast skin. The beast skin landed on the heart shell. Whoosh! The 5-colored halo on the beast skin suddenly penetrated the beast skin and turned into the shape of a heart shell that rushed into the air above the island. Pop! Like a bubble bursting in the air, the scenery in front of Fairy Jing suddenly shattered. A 5-colored whirlpool in the shape of a heart shell appeared out of nowhere. Junior Li Jing has come to greet the king. As the ruler of a country, Fairy Jing was very respectful at this moment. She faced the whirlpool in the air and raised her voice. After a long while, a thunderous voice came out from the whirlpool. "Li Jing? Oh, it's you. Why are you only here now?" As the voice passed, 5-colored brilliance flew out of the whirlpool and covered Fairy Jing's body. Whoosh! Fairy Jing's body and heart shell were sucked into the whirlpool at the same time and disappeared in a moment. When Fairy Jing's body reappeared, she was already in an extremely large space. The space looked similar to a cave, but the walls of the cave were not made of ordinary rocks. 5-colored lights were emitted from the walls of the cave. Faintly discernible demonic clouds were gently drifting, and there were many splashes of water that bloomed and faded from time to time. The walls looked very far away, but as far as the eyes could see, the nearly transparent walls were extremely close. Not only were the innumerable talisman markings on the walls clearly visible, even the water ripples outside the walls could be clearly seen. Fairy Jing stood still in the space and looked down at the crystal-clear ground under her feet. At this moment, there were auspicious clouds surging on the ground, as if they were dancing in the wind in the sky. Fairy Jing understood that she had arrived at Bai Qingyu's Demon King Cave. However, there was one thing she didn't understand. Where on the island was the Demon King Cave? When she first entered, Fairy Jing thought that she was on the island, which meant that she was in one of the many palaces. But now that she thought about it, Bai Qingyu's demons were all of the water race. The palaces on the island were probably an illusion. The Demon King's cave should be under the island. When she came in the second time, she made a new discovery. She felt that the Demon King cave was in a space high up in the sky. But when this thought appeared in her mind, she couldn't help but laugh. What did the location of the Demon King cave have to do with her? What was the point of thinking so much? Li Jing, why are you only here now? Do you think you have the power to fight against this king now that you're in charge of a country? Before Fairy Jing could raise her head, a powerful intent came out of nowhere and pressed down like a mountain. A rather unhappy voice sounded in her ears. Let this king tell you, you're just a human descendant of this king. I, Bai Qingyu, have hundreds of humans like you, if not 1,000. This king can find someone to replace you at any time. If it were any other time, Fairy Jing would have panicked and knelt down to beg for forgiveness. But now, an inexplicable sadness rose from the bottom of her heart. Although Fairy Jing knelt down, she didn't beg for forgiveness like before. Your Majesty, after this concubine bid farewell to you, I didn't stay in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm for even a moment. Then, I went deep into the West Ocean to train. In the past 200 years, I haven't set foot in the 3 continents. When this concubine returned to the hidden immortal continent, I saw your Majesty's Demon King token. This concubine rushed over without stopping and didn't dare to be negligent. Oh, is that so? That voice didn't believe Fairy Jing's explanation and said coldly, this king doesn't care where you went. What this king knows is that because you didn't come in time, you almost delayed this king's important matter. Therefore, this king must punish you. Yes, this concubine understands. Fairy Jing's heart was filled with sorrow and resentment. However, that voice changed the topic and said, the ancestor liked the jade eyes you brought back last time. He said that you've done a great service for Bai Qingyu and wanted to reward you greatly. Now that I think about it, you've atoned for your crimes. This king won't reward you. It's fine. Fairy Jing replied indifferently. This concubine works for your Majesty and doesn't ask for any reward. Get up. That voice said. This king has a few questions for you. Yes. Fairy Jing stood up and looked up at the top of the space. At the top of the space, a cluster of dazzling 5-colored light was blooming like a star. Under the light was a huge reef. Precious pearls of various colors were embedded around the reef. Although the pearls were also shining, they were much dimmer than the 5-colored light. Fairy Jing's gaze landed on the light. Illusions of falling flowers and falling leaves or rising and falling tides appeared before her eyes. She turned her eyes and looked away. At that moment, the 5-colored light receded and a shellfish several hundred meters in size appeared on the reef. Your Majesty, Fairy Jing was shocked and hastily asked, may I know what your Majesty wants to ask this concubine? Chapter 4350. The Shellfish Demon King's body moved slightly, and a strange primordial spirit stood up from the shell. This primordial spirit was also 5-colored, and there wasn't a single strand of hair on its body. It looked like a little monk. However, this little monk didn't have hands or legs, so it was more like a 5-colored boiled egg with its shell peeled off. The primordial spirit stood up, and a mouth appeared in the middle. It opened and closed its mouth, saying, did you get the jade eyes from Xiaohua last time? Xiaohua. Fairy Jing frowned, seeming to feel a stab of pain in her heart. She said hesitantly, I don't seem to know Xiaohua, but I do remember that it was Xiaohua, Daoist Xiao, who gave it to me. What did he say at that time? The Demon King wanted to get to the bottom of this. Think carefully. This time, Fairy Jing didn't hesitate at all. She immediately replied. He asked me if I knew that thing, or if I had seen it before. If I had any information, I could directly send a message to him. Is that all? The Demon King asked indifferently. It should be. Fairy Jing nodded affirmatively. Although I don't remember what happened before clearly, this matter doesn't seem to be in my lost memories. I can be sure. Ai, how troublesome. The Demon King's primordial spirit suddenly swelled several dozen times, and an irritated aura that seemed to fill the entire space swept over, scaring Fairy Jing into trembling slightly. The Demon King said angrily, I've interrogated you for 100 years, but I couldn't get anything out of you. I thought I could get something out of you when you came, but you actually don't know anything. Interrogate? Fairy Jing was a bit bewildered, looking at the Demon King in confusion. Suddenly, Fairy Jing seemed to realize something, and a trace of ecstasy flashed in her eyes. She said in surprise, Your Majesty is saying, make a trip to the Heavenly Dam Water Prison. Xiaohua is there. Ask him where he saw that thing. As long as he can tell me, I'll definitely let him out. Moreover, there will be a great reward. His Majesty invited Xiaohua to Bai Qingyu. Fairy Jing smiled bitterly, and a ball-shaped head appeared on the Demon King's primordial spirit. He nodded and answered vaguely, I received the ancestor's order to invite Xiaohua. It just so happened that I had the opportunity to invite him to Bai Qingyu. Your Majesty has interrogated Xiaohua for over 100 years, but he still didn't say anything. This concubine also doesn't seem to be familiar with Xiaohua. How can I ask him about the ugly truth? Fairy Jing was a bit embarrassed. Bullshit, the Demon King scolded. If you weren't familiar with him, why would he give you such an important jade eye? Over the past few days, there have been many human cultivators trying to sneak into my Baiqingyu, and a few of them are quite capable. What were they doing here? Isn't it just to save Xiaohua? This Xiaohua really befriended a lot of Dao sect cultivators on Yaotai Mountain. Why didn't he give it to them? Fairy Jing's heart trembled. Thinking of the strange situation outside the Demon King's cave, she immediately understood the purpose of the banquet. However, she still said with difficulty, "But this concubine really isn't familiar with Xiaohua. How do you know it won't work if you don't try?" The Demon King said impatiently. "Quickly go. You don't have much time left." Yes, Fairy Jing didn't dare to disobey the Demon King's order. She hurriedly bowed and walked towards the cave behind her. However, she only took a few steps before suddenly pausing. She paused for a moment. However, she only paused for a moment before raising her foot again and walking towards the cave entrance. However, at this moment, Fairy Jing's heart was in turmoil again. The Demon King has interrogated Xiaohua for over 100 years, but he didn't get any information. He must have lost his patience. That's why he organized the banquet to lure the cultivators of the hidden immortal continent, who are on good terms with Xiaohua. He can use them to find the information he wants and even use those cultivators to interrogate Xiaohua. The day of the banquet was supposed to be the day Xiaohua was killed. No wonder the Demon King said, "I don't have much time left." It's also strange, Xiaohua. Why does this name sound so familiar? But why is my impression of him so vague? I really don't understand what's going on. Who cares? What does Xiaohua's death have to do with me? Fairy Jing thought as she walked to the cave entrance. There seemed to be light outside the cave, causing Fairy Jing to squint her eyes. She couldn't see the situation outside clearly. When she stepped on the light, it immediately turned into a light screen and slowly opened. Fairy Jing walked out of the light screen. She was clearly outside the island again. Fairy Jing looked around. There was still a hazy mist to her left. It didn't seem to have changed since she entered. Fairy Jing didn't move towards the so-called Heavenly Dam water prison, because she didn't know where it was. A moment later, a snake-like demon flew out from the island and arrived in front of Fairy Jing. He said respectfully, "Fairy, I am under the orders of the Demon King to send you to the Heavenly Dam water prison." "Thank you for your trouble." Fairy Jing responded faintly and flew with the demon. After flying for a while, a tall mountain peak that looked like a cauldron appeared in their field of vision. Then, there was a deafening roar, and the whistling of flames could be heard. Fairy Jing released her divine sense, but it was blocked by a strange restriction after just a few miles. She couldn't extend it any further. Just as Fairy Jing withdrew her divine sense, a dozen demon beasts in armor flew out of nowhere. They raised their weapons and blocked Fairy Jing and the water snake. The water snake took out a 5-colored shell and loudly said, "I'm under the Demon King's order to send the human Li Jing to the Heavenly Dam water prison." When the patrolling demon beasts saw the 5-colored shell, they immediately bowed and moved aside. After the water snake and Fairy Jing flew past, they didn't dare to go to other places to patrol. They were only a few dozen miles away from the mountain when Fairy Jing encountered 14 patrolling teams. Each team dutifully stopped them and interrogated them. The water snake dealt with all of these investigations. Fairy Jing only quietly watched as the mountain grew closer and closer. The mountain was thousands of feet tall and straight. There was no mountain path to go up or down. The stone walls of the mountain were densely covered with holes of various sizes. Every single one of these holes was filled with fiery light, and every single one of them was letting out clanging noises. The top of the mountain was like a giant torch. Flames hundreds of feet tall rushed into the sky. Above the flames, there was nearly 1,000 feet of black smoke billowing. The black smoke gathered in the sky and condensed into a strange ghost head. It didn't dissipate for a long time. Whoosh! Suddenly, an indescribable cold wind blew on Fairy Jing's body. Although Fairy Jing had a protective light around her, she couldn't help but feel cold when the cold wind blew. She couldn't help but shrink her neck and even tug at her clothes. Stop, seeing that the water snake was about to take Fairy Jing into a huge cave at the bottom of the mountain. A cold voice came from the sky. Fairy Jing's expression didn't change. She slightly raised her head and saw a demonic light rush out from each of the 5 caves. The 5 demonic lights were different. When they fell on top of Fairy Jing's head, they condensed into a ball. A platform dozens of feet large appeared in the light. A beautiful conch woman stood on the platform and looked at her with vigilance. Fairy Jing was a bit surprised and didn't answer. The water snake still raised the 5-colored shell and said loudly, "Under the orders of the Demon King, I'm here to send Li Jing of the human race to the Sky Dam Water Prison." The conch woman nodded and waved her hand. The 5-colored shell fell into her hand. After she looked carefully, she returned the shell to the water snake. If it was an ordinary patrolling demon, they would have waved their hand and let Fairy Jing and the water snake enter. But this conch woman was different. She ignored the water snake and looked at Fairy Jing, asking, "Are you Li Jing, the human descendant of Bai Qingyu?" Fairy Jing didn't know where this conch woman came from. But seeing the woman's knife-like eyes looking at her from head to toe and the fact that she was in charge of the water prison, she could only bow and say, "This concubine is Li Jing." "Why have you come to the Sky Dam Water Prison?" the conch woman asked again. "Under the orders of the king, I've come to ask Xiaohua a few questions." Fairy Jing thought for a bit and didn't hide anything. "You know Xiaohua?" The knife intent in the conch woman's eyes grew stronger. This Li Jing was displeased. She was in charge of a country. How could she lose to this strange demoness in terms of words? She pretended to hesitate and immediately answered, "This concubine isn't familiar with Xiaohua, but since I've received orders from the king, I can only come and take a look." "Oh, so you're not familiar with Xiaohua?" Hearing this, the conch woman unconsciously let out a sigh of relief. Then her face actually changed into a smile, saying, "Elder sister, please don't blame me. Xiaohua is the key to the Sky Dam Water Prison. This is my duty, so I can't not ask a few more questions." It's fine." Fairy Jing nodded with a smile, but she didn't feel that this conch woman was speaking from the bottom of her heart. "Elder sister, please." The conch woman smiled again and waved her transparent little hand. The 5-colored platform below her soared into the sky and disappeared into the peak of the mountain. "Fairy, please come with me." The water snake saw this and urged the demon cloud to rush into the cave. Fairy Jing wanted to ask who this conch woman was, but thinking about this so-called Sky Dam Water Prison, she probably only came here once in her life. She didn't care who this conch woman was. His flying into the mountain and seeing everything before her, Fairy Jing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The situation inside the mountain was far beyond her imagination. She saw a pillar of fire that directly penetrated the mountain in front of her. Chapter 43:51. The magma and flames inside the pillar of fire roared like crazy, and a series of muffled thunderclaps came from the pillar of fire. The surface of the fire pillar was covered with a thin layer of 5-colored halo. Between the 5 colors of the halo, there were many demonic characters. These demonic characters were like clever tadpoles that swam in the halo. Every time the demonic characters swam, there would be a kind of obscure fluctuation. As the fluctuation fell into the void, countless light pillars of stars and moons would rush out from the void. The light pillars of stars and moons did not directly enter the surface of the fire pillar. They only landed a few feet away from the surface of the fire pillar. With a roar, the light pillars transformed into talismans that were similar to demonic characters. The talismans fluttered up and down the fire pillar like dancing butterflies. When these butterflies were tired, they would find a demonic character that was similar to the talismans and land on it. As the talisman fell, a flower-like shadow appeared within the pillar of fire. The moment the roars of thunder and flames from within the pillar of fire fell into the shadow of light, they immediately disappeared and no longer made any sound. The sound of the magma and flames inside the pillar of light was blocked by the demonic runes, but the scorching heat couldn't be completely blocked. Although there was a gap of several hundred feet between the mountain and the pillar of fire, this gap was almost negligible. A heat that ordinary cultivators couldn't resist forced Fairy Jing to use her magic power to resist. Fairy, please wait a moment. The water snake seemed to dislike the heat, and immediately stopped when it reached the side of the fire pillar. It turned its head and took out a piece of animal skin. After spitting out a mouthful of demonic chi, the animal skin turned into a fish and fell between the mountain peak and the fire pillar. Aha! Fairy Jing nodded and released her divine sense. She wanted to look through the entire pillar of fire. However, just as she released her divine sense, she felt a burning pain from her divine sense. She was shocked and quickly withdrew her divine sense. She looked at the pillar of fire in horror, and knew how powerful the demonic formation here was. Just at this moment, about 1,000 feet to the right of Fairy Jing, a tortoise-like demon was dragged out of a cave by a few shell-type demon beasts. The tortoise's shell was shattered, and demonic blood flowed out from the cracks and dripped into the air. The demonic blood only dripped for about 10 feet before disappearing into nothingness. A few shellfish demons flew towards the fire pillar for a moment, and then stopped. At the same time, they activated their demon powers, and threw the tortoise demon towards the fire pillar. At the same time, a shellfish monster gently waved a small flag in his hand. As the demonic light from the small flag fell into the fire pillar, a small vortex appeared in the light of the fire pillar. Countless demonic runes spiraled out of the vortex and covered the turtle demon. He dragged the tortoise towards the fire pillar. As soon as the tortoise monster touched the surface of the fire pillar, it immediately let out a heart-wrenching scream. Following the scream, a wisp of flame rushed out of the fire pillar and fell into the vortex. In an instant, the tortoise monster was burned to ash. When the whirlpool fell into the fire pillar, the few shellfish monsters put away the small flag and flew back into the cave and disappeared. Sigh, how is this the heavenly dam water prison? This is clearly the fire pillar hell. Fairy Jing only took a glance and couldn't help but sigh. What was strange was that she looked down at the bottom of the fire pillar with uneasiness. A sense of worry and uneasiness came from the depths of her heart. So just at this moment, a gust of wind came from the edge of Fairy Jing's vision, and arrived before her in just a few breaths. Oh, mid-stage 4th grade origin energy. And the origin intent is actually not afraid of being burned by the fire pillar. Fairy Jing was startled and couldn't help but think to herself. Before the gust of wind arrived, a powerful origin intent swept over and landed on Fairy Jing. Fairy Jing narrowed her eyes and looked at the origin of the gust of wind. Immediately, a demon clan member that was several feet tall and covered in a black shell flew out from the light shadow. The demon clan member's body was hidden in the shell, and its true appearance could not be seen. Only 2 tentacles extended from the sides of the shell, and the tentacles were holding a demon weapon that looked like a sledgehammer. Greetings, emissary. The demon's origin intent landed on the water snake's 5-colored hide. He stopped in midair and respectfully saluted. This is Li Jing of the human race. She's here on the king's orders to ask Xiaohua a few things. The water snake had repeated this so many times that he himself was getting impatient. Emissary, please. The shelled demon ignored Fairy Jing and respectfully said to the water snake. I won't go down. The water snake waved his hand. First check the king's order and take Li Jing down. I'll wait here. Then take Li Jing back to the king. Yes. The shelled demon took the order and looked at it before returning it to the water snake. His hidden eyes swept over Fairy Jing and said, Fairy, please follow me. All right. Fairy Jing knew that the water snake was afraid of heat and didn't want to go deeper. She nodded and followed the shelled demon into the cave. Below the cave, the fire pillar gradually shrank and the mountain peak slowly expanded. The space between the 2 layers grew even wider. However, Fairy Jing's heart slowly shrank as she went deeper. She had previously called the Sky Dam water prison the fire pillar hell, but everything she saw made her realize that this was a hell, and it was divided into many layers of hell. Every 10,000 feet she flew, she would encounter a prison filled with demons, and even some humans. From time to time, some demons would be tortured and thrown into the fire pillars to burn to death. If it were any other time, Fairy Jing wouldn't have any other thoughts, but today, she couldn't help but worry about Xiaohua, who was being suppressed here. She didn't even know why she was worried about this unfamiliar human cultivator, whose appearance she had already forgotten. After flying through the endless evil energy, the stench, and the stench of blood, Fairy Jing finally reached the bottom of the cave. At this point, the huge pillar of fire had shrunk to a size of 3,000 meters and pierced straight into the ground. Moreover, the fire pillar here had already taken on a dark red color. The magma and flames within it were not as roaring as before. However, an aura that was even more violent than before was emitted from within the fire pillar. The demonic runes and halos on the surface of the fire pillar seemed to have drifted away due to this violent aura. It seemed that they did not dare to be trapped for long. Where is Xiaohua? At this point, Fairy Jing didn't dare to release her spirit sense. She looked at the blood-red bottom of the cave and the blood-stained stone walls, and was rather puzzled. There the shelled demon casually pointed at the bottom of the cave and flew up. After all, this shelled demon was also a member of the Water Clan. Although he had a heat-resistant shell, he still didn't dare to stay here for long. Where? Fairy Jing looked at the bottom of the cave. The place where the fire pillar touched the ground was crimson red, and there were faint tongues of fire coming out of the fire pillar. How could she see anything alive? Fairy Jing was about to descend when a fierce wave of heat came from the bottom of the cave. It swept up crazily and extinguished most of the light around Fairy Jing. A wave of heat completely ignored Fairy Jing's defenses and directly entered her body. Fairy Jing was shocked. She immediately flew up 1,000 feet before coming to a stop, still in a state of shock. She looked at the shelled demon that had just flown away. He only flew 100 feet and stopped not far away. She didn't know if he was watching the show or worried for Fairy Jing. Damn it! Fairy Jing looked at the shelled demon and cursed in her heart. She knew that this shelled demon must have done it on purpose. Otherwise, he would have warned her long ago. Unfortunately, the shelled demon's face was hidden in the shell, so Fairy Jing couldn't see his expression. Moreover, this demon only stayed for a few moments before flying back into the cave and disappearing. Fairy Jing coldly snorted and opened her mouth. A blue light shot out from her mouth, and a fist-sized sea pearl shot out. Fairy Jing formed a seal with both hands and struck the sea pearl with several seals. The Sea Clan member landed on top of Fairy Jing's head, and a cluster of water light shot out from the sea pearl. Zzz, with a series of sounds, the water light collided with the surrounding blood-red heat waves. In a few breaths, the water light protected Fairy Jing in a cool and refreshing environment. Fairy Jing looked at the watery light that seemed to be breathing in the heat wave. She then urged her magic power and flew down the fire pillar. However, as Fairy Jing went deeper, the sizzling sounds from the water became more and more intense. Fairy Jing's heart began to feel uneasy again. Although she didn't remember Xiaohua's situation, she knew very well that the human cultivators she knew. How strong could they be? She couldn't hold on even with her magic treasure. That human cultivator was suppressed here by the Demon King for more than 100 years. What kind of torture did he suffer? How did he survive 100 years of torment? However, even at this moment, Fairy Jing still didn't understand why she had no impression of Xiaohua. But why did she miss Xiaohua? She rushed into the flames around the fire pillar and rubbed her hands. Her magic power spread out, and a torrent of blue water appeared on the sea pearl and rushed to the bottom of the fire pillar. A burst of water mist appeared. When the mist dissipated, there were no flames. Fairy Jing saw a black shadow that was as large as a bull being suppressed by the fire pillar. Fairy Jing was shocked again. She seemed to understand that the pillar of fire didn't pierce into the ground like she had seen with the naked eye. Instead, it was standing inside the mountain. The bottom of the cave was the end of the pillar of fire, and Xiaohua was pressed to the ground by the pillar of fire. When Fairy Jing flew down several dozen feet and saw the black shadow, her heart ached. That black shadow was a human head. At this moment, it was lying on the ground with only the back of its head pointing to the sky. Compared to the thousands of feet tall pillar of fire, this head was truly tiny and pitiful. Chapter 4352. Xiaohua? Are you Xiaohua? Fairy Jing probed in a low voice, her voice carrying a hint of sadness. The head seemed to be on the verge of death. Only now did it notice that someone had landed. It tilted its head slightly and looked at Fairy Jing with difficulty. Although the light was as red as blood, although the shadow was like a ghost, and although Fairy Jing was prepared, when she saw half of the human's face, Her body trembled as if she had been struck by lightning. She couldn't help but tremble, and tears began to flow from her eyes. Xiao. Xiaohua Fairy Jing once again called out these 3 words. Although these 3 words weren't any different from the 3 words from a few breaths ago, the concern, heartache, sadness, and surprise were countless times greater. Following these 3 words, the memories from 200 years ago that had been washed away by the water of unruffled love gushed out like a fountain that had almost dried up. Every time a sliver of memory was born, Fairy Jing's heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. The sweetness was filled with sorrow, because she understood in her heart that the reason why Xiaohua was suppressed here and suffered so much for the past 100 years was because of her. Oh, who are you? Xiaohua raised his head and stared at Fairy Jing before asking in bewilderment. It's this concubine. Li Jing, you don't remember? Fairy Jing's voice trembled. Xiaohua's words were like a knife stabbing into her heart. She had originally blamed Xiaohua's fall on her. Now that she heard Xiaohua's words, she felt that Xiaohua hated her. The regret in her heart was incomparable. Li Jing, a trace of confusion appeared in Xiaohua's eyes. It was as if he didn't know Fairy Jing at all. This Xiaohua naturally wasn't the real Xiaohua, but rather the transformation of Little White Dragon. If it was Xue Xue or Fairy Hongxia, Little White Dragon would naturally know. However, Fairy Jing hadn't been with Xiaohua for long, so Little White Dragon hadn't seen her before. What was more special was that Xiaohua had never mentioned Fairy Jing again after she left. Even if Little White Dragon had Xiaohua's soul imprint, how could he know Xiaohua's secret? Oh, I remember now. Little White Dragon was only confused for a moment, but it immediately pretended to wake up and replied in a calm tone. Why are you here? This concubine. Didn't this concubine tell you earlier? When Fairy Jing heard Xiaohua's indifferent tone, her heart tightened again. She thought that Xiaohua was blaming her and hurriedly explained. I have the bloodline of the demon race, and this bloodline comes from Bai Qingyu. Oh, I see. The Little White Dragon nodded with difficulty and grinned. Thank you for coming to visit Fairy. Hearing this, Fairy Jing's heart hurt even more. She felt that Xiaohua was mocking her. This, Fairy Jing said in a low voice. This is not what I expected, nor is it what I want to see. It's fine. Wasn't it just that he couldn't move here? What can this shellfish do to me? Little White Dragon said indifferently, then spat into the air and shouted. Little shellfish, look at me. I'm just a copper pea. Hit. Boom. Just as Little White Dragon was cursing, the entire fire pillar suddenly emitted a loud roar. A ring of fire suddenly fell from the top of the fire pillar. However, just as it reached the middle of the fire pillar, a powerful wave of energy came crashing down in all directions. Fairy Jing turned pale with fright and hurriedly moved. Just as she fell into a cave, the ring of fire rushed through the cave, and a powerful wave of heat annihilated most of the water of the ocean pearl. Boom! Right before Fairy Jing's eyes, the ring of fire fell to the bottom of the fire pillar and smashed into Little White Dragon. The entire ground shook and blood-red flames rushed out from the bottom of the fire pillar within a range of several hundred meters. Roar! Roar! It sounded like a scream, but it also sounded like a dragon's roar. Little White Dragon's voice made Fairy Jing's heart break. The pain was like her heart was being torn apart and sewn back together with needles. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions rang out a total of 9 times. The hundreds of feet tall fire pillar crazily shot out 9 times like a purgatory. White E's miserable cries became louder and louder each time, rippling within the mountain peak and within the fire pillar. After half an hour, the ring of fire stopped, and the fire pillar gradually calmed down. Fairy Jing flew in front of Little White Dragon again. Oh, why haven't you left yet? Little White Dragon looked at Fairy Jing with a puzzled expression. Suddenly he realized something and asked, do you need something? Looking at Xiaohua's familiar face, Fairy Jing's heart began to churn. Fairy Jing had heartlessly left Heartbreak Mountain not because she was too rational, but because she felt inferior. It wasn't just because of her demon bloodline, but also because she was a puppet of the demon race. She felt that her status wasn't good enough for Xiaohua, and she didn't want to bring trouble to Xiaohua because of her status. But now what she worried about still happened. Little White Dragon was suppressed and tempered by the fire pillar, and Fairy Jing's heart was also roasted in the fire pillar. However, after being stabbed in the heart, Fairy Jing immediately put away her sorrow and made a decision. She sniffed and asked faintly, "Yes, I came on the king's orders to ask you where you saw the rainbow-colored conch in the jade eye." Bullshit. Little White Dragon naturally didn't know where Xiaohua saw the rainbow-colored conch. He only cursed. "I said it a few thousand times, I don't know." But Fairy Jing was terrifyingly calm. She asked in return, "The jade eye was given to me, and it also told me to send you a message if I saw something similar. Also, I couldn't let anyone else know. If you don't know, others might believe it, but I definitely won't." Ah? Little White Dragon was stunned. He didn't know how to answer. Fairy Jing didn't wait for him to answer. Instead, she continued, "When I obtained the jade eye, I was shocked because I was very familiar with the brilliance of the rainbow-colored conch. It was very similar to Bai Qingyu's 5-colored conch. However, I didn't have the king's permission, so I didn't dare to casually explain it to you. Therefore, after I obtained the jade eye, I returned to Bai Qingyu and reported this matter to the king. I wanted the king to make a decision." The expression on Little White Dragon's face was very interesting. This was Xiaohua's secret. He didn't want to interfere, but unfortunately, he was still dragged into the web of love in Fairy Jing's heart. He didn't know how to respond. Should he curse Fairy Jing? Should he curse her? Or should he comfort Fairy Jing? At this moment, a pleasant voice that sounded like a kingfisher interrupted Fairy Jing's words. It came from above the pillar of fire. "Damned bitch, ah!" Fairy Jing was stunned. She quickly looked up and saw a 5-colored demonic cloud carrying an extremely beautiful and graceful woman. That woman's eyebrows were slanted and her almond-shaped eyes were wide open. She stared at Fairy Jing as if she was looking at an enemy. She didn't even wait for her to come close before cursing. "If it wasn't for you, how could Xiaohua be suppressed here? You actually have the face to interrogate me? Look at your withered appearance. You still dare to act pitiful here? If I were Xiaohua, I would definitely drown you with my spit." "Who are you?" Fairy Jing's scar had been exposed, so she was extremely angry. She glared and coldly asked, "Who are you?" Wu, that woman sneered. She didn't seem to take any action, but a rumbling sound came from her body. Her origin sense was mixed with a kind of power, and it pressed down on Fairy Jing like a mountain flood. Ah! Fairy Jing sensed the power of this power and was shocked. She didn't dare to be careless and quickly patted her head. Wuxia released the pressure of a nascent soul cultivator, wanting to resist. Boom! A loud sound came from the empty mountain peak. Fairy Jing's figure was sent flying like an autumn leaf. When she landed, the blood on her face suddenly surged and then retreated. Her face was deathly pale. 6th grade origin force. Fairy Jing's eyes were filled with shock. She was clear that this woman's pressure was immediately withdrawn when it touched her. It wasn't too forceful. However, with just a touch, Fairy Jing's qi and blood had already surged and her true essence had gone astray. This woman was at least a 6th grade star-plucking realm cultivator. "Humph, you're only a 4th grade descendant. You dare to be arrogant in front of me." That woman was very arrogant. Seeing Fairy Jing's shock and pale face, she berated, "Why aren't you scramming?" Fairy Jing clenched her teeth. Although she didn't know this woman was able to enter the Sky Dam water prison, and even reach the bottom of the fire pillar. She was naturally an important demon to Bai Qingyu. Fairy Jing didn't dare to talk back to this woman, but she wasn't willing to lower her head to this woman in front of Xiaohua. She squinted her eyes and said, "This concubine is under the king's order to ask. Since Xiaohua isn't willing to speak now, this concubine will come again in the future. Xiaohua, the king said that as long as you tell him where you saw this rainbow conch, he will immediately release you and reward you greatly." Little White Dragon bitterly smiled. He was willing to speak, but he really didn't know where he saw this rainbow conch. Seeing Little White Dragon not speaking, Fairy Jing's heart ached even more. She didn't even look back as she flew towards the top of the fire pillar. When she arrived at the exit of the mountain peak, the water snake was still waiting there. Seeing Fairy Jing come out, the water snake didn't ask about the result, and turned to bring Fairy Jing back to the Demon King's cave. Fairy Jing bit her lips and said, "Wait. Oh, is there anything else?" The water snake asked curiously. If there's nothing important, it's better to turn back. The king is still waiting for a reply in the cave. Chapter 43:53. I didn't get anything out of him. If I go back and report this to the king, I'm afraid I'll be scolded. Fairy Jing lowered her eyebrows and timidly replied. Leave the king's order here and report back to the Demon King's cave. I'll go down in a few days and ask again. What do you think? The water snake only pondered for a moment before handing the 5-colored beast's skin to Fairy Jing. It nodded and said, That's good. The king has been troubled by this matter. If Fairy Jing can get something out of him, not to mention once or twice, even 10 times would be a great merit. Fairy Jing nodded absent-mindedly and took the beast's skin. She flew to the left side of the mountain. The water snake didn't suspect anything and returned to the Demon King's cave to report. At the bottom of the Heavenly Dam water prison, the woman saw that Fairy Jing had lost all face and left in a sorry state. She let out a cold snort and said, You're only a human, yet you dare to steal my lover. After saying that, the woman landed in front of Little White Dragon. She looked at Little White Dragon and said coldly, What? Do you feel bad? When did you get this old lover? She caused you to be like this and you still treat her like this? You can't even bear to say a harsh word to her? Humph, none of your business. The Little White Dragon let out a cold snort and ignored the woman. When the woman saw that the Little White Dragon was angry, she immediately turned into water and jumped before the Little White Dragon. She coquettishly said, When you were looking at the moon with me, you called me little sweetie. Now that the new person has surpassed the old, you're actually ignoring me. Bullshit. The Little White Dragon looked up and cursed. When will you see the moon here? How could I call you little sweetie? So you want to see the moon? That's great. I've always wanted you to accompany me. The woman was pleasantly surprised. She raised her hand and took out a 5-colored flag. When she waved the flag, the stone wall at the mountain peak immediately disappeared. However, it was noon outside the mountain peak, so where did the moon come from? The woman was a bit busy and quickly said, Don't rush. Although she told him not to rush, her actions didn't seem to be in a rush at all. He hurriedly waved the flag and restored the mountain wall to its original state. Then he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of green light. The green light rushed into the sky and turned into a green full moon. The faint brilliance of the moon sprinkled down like moonlight, brightly illuminating the blood-red flames. The Little White Dragon soldier was unmoved. It looked at Yu Hua indifferently and said coldly, What do you mean by this? Are you trying to show off in front of me? Xiaolang, how would I dare? The woman was shocked. She quickly opened her mouth and swallowed the green light. She said, Wait a little longer. It will be night in a few hours at this point. A strange expression appeared on the woman's face, as if she was about to cry. What? Little White Dragon chided. If you don't let me see the moonlight, darling Xiao, the woman was on the verge of tears. Today seems to be the 3rd day of the lunar month. There's no moon. Little White Dragon didn't say anything. It only snorted coldly. However, this sound was like thunder in the woman's ears. She hurriedly said, Darling Xiao, it's all my fault. Don't be angry with me. Actually, I just casually taught her a lesson. I didn't mean to hurt her, and I'm not jealous. I just think that she's too much. If it weren't for her, how could you have been suppressed here for 143 years and 42 days? Hearing the woman's precise description of the date, a smile appeared on Little White Dragon's face. It replied, If I wasn't suppressed here, how could I have met you? Hee, that's true. When the woman saw Little White Dragon smile, she was happier than anything else. She hurriedly flew up from the ground. Her entire body spun a few times in the air, as if she was showing off. Darling Xiao, take a look. Don't you like human forms? The human form I transformed into today. Do you like it? There's no need to look. Little White Dragon blurted out. You're the most beautiful in the world. It doesn't matter if you transform or not, I like it. Darling Xiao, that woman was really drunk. With a moan, she threw herself at the side of Little White Dragon's head. Strangely, when the woman's body leaned against the pillar of fire, the demon runes on the surface of the pillar of fire could not stop her. The woman's body disappeared into the pillar of fire. Then the entire fire pillar shone with demonic light, enveloping an area of several thousand feet. Several days later, a timid voice came from the demonic light. Yaoji, the king has ordered you to kowtow in the Demon King's cave. On the demonic light, the conch woman, who had been wary of Fairy Jing, stood respectfully on the demonic cloud. She lowered her head, not daring to look at the demonic light. She only whispered to Fairy Jing, "Damn it." The voice of the woman hidden in the pillar of fire was very pleasant to the ears, but it was also somewhat angry. "Call me princess. Didn't you hear darling Xiao calling me princess?" "Yes, yes, your highness." The conch woman trembled and hurriedly changed the way she addressed her. "This servant deserves to die. Please forgive me, your highness. The king has ordered for your highness to go to the Demon King's cave." Damn it, the princess was still cursing, but there was a hint of laziness in her voice. When the demonic light flickered, an extremely graceful figure appeared in the fire pillar. The curves of this delicate body were indescribably seductive, especially at her abdomen, where there was a bulge. Strangely, the woman's skin flashed with a seductive five-colored halo, and the oval on her abdomen had a different color. Humph! Little white dragon didn't miss the opportunity to snort. The woman was startled, and a five-colored halo flashed. A gorgeous set of clothes instantly appeared and tightly wrapped around her body. "Darling Xiao, don't be angry," the woman begged in a low voice. "I'm not too familiar with this human's body. Wear more clothes in the future. Don't let everyone see everything." Little White Dragon shouted in an imposing manner. The woman replied in a delicate voice, "Yes, darling Xiao, hurry up and scram." Little White Dragon roared again. The woman wasn't ashamed of Little White Dragon's scolding. Instead, she smiled sweetly and kissed Little White Dragon's cheek before flying into the air. Looking at the conch girl, she asked coldly, "Who sent the message?" "It's that bitch from a few days ago." The conch girl said indignantly, "She must have said something to the king, and that's why the king summoned Princess Yao for questioning. She doesn't want to live anymore." The woman was furious. "How dare she ruin my plans? I'm going to skin her, pull out her tendons, and let her know how powerful I am." As she spoke, the woman's body flashed with five-colored demonic light, and she flew toward the mountain's exit. "Io, princess, wait for me." Although the conch girl called out, she didn't fly high. Instead, she strangely turned her head and looked at Little White Dragon. She winked mischievously at Little White Dragon, as if she was proud of herself for sowing discord. Humph! Little White Dragon raised its head with a lazy smile on its face, but its brows were filled with disdain. When she heard the Little White Dragon's cold snort, the woman, who had already turned her head to look at the Little White Dragon, suddenly stopped. The woman raised her head to look at the sky, after which, she clenched her teeth and suddenly flew in front of the Little White Dragon. She fiercely kissed the Little White Dragon's face and cried out through gritted teeth, "Xiao Lang, you miss me so much." After saying this, the conch girl didn't dare to stay for long. She hurriedly flew into the sky and reluctantly looked at Little White Dragon before she flew out of the cave. Since ancient times, excessive love has left behind only regret. This regret will never end. Little White Dragon's melancholy voice rang out from under the fire pillar. "Heavens, forgive me for my unruly love." Just as Little White Dragon finished speaking, boom, there was a huge roar above the fire pillar. Another ring of fire was born from the peak of the mountain, and it fell down with a huge force. Roar! Little White Dragon howled in grief as a sea of fire appeared. Which Confucian cultivator said that pain always comes after pleasure? Damn it, it's too true. The Little White Dragon's sorrowful wails and recitation naturally could not reach the exit of the mountain. However, a figure stood at the exit, watching the endless rings of fire descend. His eyes were already filled with tears, and an indescribable sense of remorse appeared between his brows. When the ring of fire disappeared, this figure immediately took out a five-colored beast's skin and rushed to the bottom of the fire pillar without hesitation. This figure was Xiaohua's acquaintance, but Little White Dragon didn't know who Fairy Jing was. Outside of the swamp where the Demon King's cave was located, the sky was covered with red clouds. Thin strands of lightning were faintly discernible between the clouds. The muffled sound of thunder was covered by the loud whistling sound of the wind. The wind became stronger and stronger, blowing away the withered grass and breaking the trees. Even the gravel was blown into the air. It was truly a scene of flying sand and rolling stones. The clouds were low and lightning flashed. Crackle raindrops mixed with hail began to wreak havoc between heaven and earth. An eagle's cry came from the horizon. The red clouds that covered the horizon suddenly rolled. A golden-winged great pung that was several hundred meters in size spread its flashing lightning wings and revealed its figure in the clouds. This golden-winged great pung flapped its wings and a hurricane suddenly appeared. The dense red clouds were immediately blown away by the hurricane, and a passage several li in size appeared in the clouds. Rumble, several bolts of lightning fell and hit the back of the golden-winged great pung. Boom, hundreds of demon characters rushed out from the back of the golden-winged great pung. They flickered with golden light and turned into a faint bird shape to block the lightning. Then the lightning turned into threads of lightning that fell between the golden-winged great pung's wings. The golden-winged great pung flapped its wings again and crossed several li in an instant. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.